pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes.
Entertain a motion to accept minutes for Monday or Tuesday, March 26th. As written. Is there a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Carried 3-0. Anything else to add to the agenda today? Talk to Jim. Talk to Jim at 2:30. Yep. Yeah, entertain motion to go into bid opening for the lentils for the hall project. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Here we go. First bid is by PCI Dahmer. They have addendums 1, 2, and 3.
We should have a copy because we put it in the...
They have their bid bond. Their base bid is $110,454.
Who is this?
That's Dahmer, D-A-H-M-E-R. Grandview. Alternate number 1 is $35,310. Alternate number 2 is $39,270. This proposal is from Carney Construction. Carney, K-E-A-R-N-E-Y. They have addendums 1, 2, and 3. They have their bid bond. Their price is $175,547. Alternate number 1 is $37,800. Alternate number 2 is $41,285.
What was alternate 2 again, please?
$41,285. This is from Mike Hundley Construction. He has alternate or addendums 1, 2, and 3. And he has his bid bond. His base bid price is $267,397. Alternate number 1 is $42,650. Alternate number 2 is $43,730. This is from the Wilson Group. And the Wilson Group is out of Greenwood, Missouri. For those who are keeping score. It appears that they have everything except a bid. They've got a bid bond. Here we go. Okay. They have only received addendum number 1. They do have their bid bond. Their base bid is $128,320. Alternate number 1 is $39,767. Alternate number 2 is $23,047. Next bid is from Jason Brown Roofing. They have their bid bond. They have addendums 1, 2, and 3. Their base bid is $149,168. Alternate number 1 is $61,830. Alternate number 2 is $28,640.
Where are they from?
And they are
Maryville, Missouri.
Maryville, Missouri. This is Julius Kaz Construction from Leavenworth.
How do you spell it last name?
K-A-Z. And it's Kaz, is that correct? Kaz, Kaz?
From Leavenworth?
Yes. He has his bib on. He has received addendums 1, 2, and 3. His base bid is $240,000. There is no bid for alternate 1 or 2.
You have another bid.
I'm sorry?
Is that all the bids or some other?
There's one more.
I need to start a new sheet.
This is from L&L Construction. He has his bid bond. He has received addendums 1, 2, and 3. His base bid is $197,050. Alternate number 1 is $64,548. Alternate number 2 is $43,450. It would appear that PCI Dahmer is the apparent low bidder. We are going to take these under advisement and should have word out publicly within a matter of days.
Yeah, just for clarification, maybe something like this too. Alternate 1 bid includes new windows, is that correct? That's the
It
alternate 2
does.
bid, that's the cost of replacing the windows, and then alternate 2 is replacing all the doors.
Correct.
Is that correct? So,
Thank you for your bid.
The first bid, I didn't know the all.
Which one was?
You'll be looking over, opening like the specs on the windows.
Yeah, I've got to see, and I'll start with the apparent low bidder, and try to figure out what is that included in there. And there is quite a bit of disparity between the high and the low, but you know, on a small project like this, that's not that unusual. But I'll work with them and see what they've got in it.
Yeah, just so it's clear, so.
Right.
Make sure that everybody bid the same stuff.
Right. Yeah, sometimes you can know too much about a project and, just doesn't work out for you.
Do they typically list like references, or I mean, because some of them are not as familiar with.
That is something that I can check out and,
I'd just be
find
curious
out.
to see like what other work they've done
Yeah.
similar.
The one that I was having so much trouble finding the bid, they had stuck in a whole bunch of references and things like that, to inform you about. That was, I think that was the Wilson Group. They had a whole bunch of stuff in there that was usable for that particular purpose. PCI Dahmer, I don't know what their, if there's any references, if we have that in there. But I will in a conversation with them. It says the bidder's full name is Performance Contracting, Inc. It doesn't say, that's what it is, PCI Dahmer is Performance Contractors, Inc. And they really don't give a listing of anything like that. It wasn't required to give references.
Well, I just would be more curious about what type of work.
Sure. Yeah, well, I'll try to check them out, and sometime tomorrow should have some kind of a feeling for where they are and if they're going to be able to complete the project at that price.
Sure.
Okay.
Did you have an engineer's estimate on it or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that was about $200,000 for the
Estimate?
base bid,
Okay.
and then about another $50,000 for the windows and doors and stuff like that. How things go with researching these guys, and hopefully we have a good bid and we can get busy.
Well, Wednesday, we can take official action at that Wednesday meeting.
Okay.
We would close the bid process for the windows project in North Hall.
Second.
Aye.
Carry 3-0. Larry and Dick are still here. Any questions on the bids or?
Just a lot of difference in the bids, you know, we'd like to have the contractor checked out, because there's some big difference between bids. Make sure he's got everything in a row, what he's got the thing done.
Make sure the mortar is in place, we want to make sure there's mortar.
Exactly, they figured everything in on the bid, that's exactly right.
That's a big difference.
Big difference, on a small guy. So make sure that he's got everything figured in. I hope we can get it done for that, be a good deal.
That's their job, that's why we pay them, we already look at it, and help the accountant.
Matt, Matt, you have something for us?
I have a bill here for solid waste. When the loader out of Effingham, if you recall, it through the drive shaft and took out a bunch of lines of stainless fluid. I have a bill there for $5,787.88 for the Murphy tractor. For the John Deere wheel loader at the Effingham transfer station.
How old is that? How many hours are
I don't know off the top of my head how many hours is on that machine.
is it well used or?
All it's used for is to, push the trash down in the dumpsters out of Effingham. That's all it's used for. So it doesn't give a lot of hours put on it. Also, I'm not sure, this was sent to me, this is, Chase's, his physical fitness test and his drug screen for his, I think they sent it to me, and it was, had to do with solid waste,
Oh, okay.
his title. But I didn't know if I was supposed to keep that start file on him, or who you wanted to have that.
We would probably keep a file.
Okay.
Where's the new folder?
Oh, the one I just signed. So,
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. Well, good, Jay.
I've been in contact with, Dean from Police on the, on the 2011 320D excavator we were looking at. And, he's agreed to, for the same price, we get the, premier warranty that expires 4/7/2014, and then also they agreed to add 2 years of powertrain and hydraulic warranty onto that machine, and that would expire 4/7/2016. And then,
is that the machine you talked briefly about, something about that?
yeah,
Does
this,
it include a bucket or a
Yeah.
drum and stuff, that does?
that includes the thumb, a brand new cap thumb, a bucket, and then he's also going to throw in on the deal a quick patch for the bucket. That's about $5,000 also on the deal, which isn't a big deal. We wouldn't use it much, but it would be nice if we ever did some demo on a bridge or something and wanted to run a breaker. We could put that on there, and it'd just make it a lot easier, switch that stuff out. Like I said, that's on, it's the 320DL with, 1,472 hours.
What do you say,
2011 machine.
Yeah,
powertrain and hydraulics. The premier warranty that's good for a year, that basically covers anything, it's basically bumper to bumper warranty. And then like I said, the powertrain, of course, covers the motor and the hydraulic system. No, everything, all that is good, like I said, it's only got 1,400 hours, so all hours speed, in great shape.
The one you got now is 28 years old, so it's...
Yeah, it's, got over 10, we're not even sure exactly how many hours it's got on it, and it's still got the original, undercarriage, and it's shot.
You'd be better off selling it now, right, or go ahead and trade it in, or receive.
My suggestion and what the dealer suggested was put on the road. He thought we'd get a lot more out of it if we just sell it outright on portfolio. That's what they're just gonna sell it off there.
But you're gonna sell it as is, and if a dealer took it, they got about... that'd be no more value. I mean, it's probably now last.
Yeah, there's still a few of them around, not very much.
So it's almost in the future.
Yeah.
Some form or something,
Might want to clean out a pond or something.
getting by that. And that, what was that price, 115?
Yeah, 159 even. That's not a real good picture, but that's I mean, it's not all scratched up or anything. And then, also, Tully's found us a trailer also. It's a 2006, Fontaine, 35-ton detachable gooseneck trailer. This thing, a phone company out in western Kansas owns it. It's only got about 500 miles on the trailer. And it is always shedded. They've got a shed they keep it in. The only thing about it that isn't what we requested, it isn't self-contained hydraulics. But, I got a price on the self-contained hydraulic unit. That's something we could add ourselves for about $2,200. And that trailer, they're asking $36,000. And it looks,
What's the name?
it is, I'm not sure if I have that.
Did they give you the rating, the ton rating on that?
It's 35 tons.
Because that'd be enough.
Yeah,
You don't go a long distance, but I thought that they had that rating.
Yeah, we have got a so-called resident expert in the room with
Yeah, we've got-
heavy equipment.
the excavator,
Are you entertained?
the excavator, weighs 45,000.
Expert.
Oh, wait, okay.
Yeah, and the RD7 weighs around 60,000.
Somewhere in the back of my mind, I seen $77,000.
Well, I think I did say that, and I don't know where I got that, but that was wrong.
Okay. That'd be a pretty heavy machine.
Yeah.
And maybe one of them that has,
It's 35-ton trailer.
Yeah.
Do you really need that heavy one for your sevens?
7 and this, 320, the 320 excavator weighs around 45,000 pounds.
and then you said the dozer's 60.
Yeah, close to 60.
Nice looking trailer. If you need a heavy one, in the future, you might, with bigger equipment or whatever.
Yeah. That's actually on the light side. I was either looking at a 35 or a 50.
I think the attachable ton would be nice, especially for tractor, because you're gonna be breaking it
Right.
all the time.
Right.
Dozer as well, but Dozer's not quite as fast as tractor.
It's pretty much, it's got more miles on it, it's like brand new, so.
Foley's they don't actually own that trailer yet. The guy that owns it wanted to trade it on some machinery, but if we would commit to buying it, then they think they can move on.
They're committed to that price.
Yeah,
36,000.
$36,000, like I said, it'd be another about, 2,200 for the, self-contained hydraulic
You
unit.
guys can do that in-house.
Yeah, it's all self-contained, it bolts onto the trailer with 4 bolts, and then you just plug it into the hydraulic couplers.
Using the same thing.
Yeah, has everything been transferred in special highway from bridge fund? From his carryover?
Yeah, we moved 122, the savings last year was 122,000,
Yeah.
moved that into special, if there was a little balance in there, but
Correct.
I think when he brought it the other day, he was questioning about funding the savings that we have, or he's gonna take the rest of that out of this year's budget, with hopefully with the savings that we should get on that one.
Right now, I believe we have 159,682 in special machinery.
I'd hate to deplete that completely in case there's something last minute coming up. What was, could you refresh us, what was the projected savings on the oil, what you had budgeted for bid versus what we have?
129.
129?
Yeah. 129, 320.
What page is that on? Did you find it?
No, I was looking at that, I can't see it.
What do you think on the over 10, 12, 8, 15?
I'm gonna say around 10. I
Didn't it?
think that's a good ballpark.
Special machinery, probably 47.
No boy, go low way around keep, fix it up.
I think we ought to ship it. It's got some problems rusting out. I think we ought to just get what we can out of it and send it down the road. I suppose a farmer or somebody that don't use it very often
Yeah,
might be
and we can
interested in
have
that.
some budget items, so we can take a look if you want.
I really don't know what that really matters for me.
We purchased
That,
I think probably first was tractor, maybe 6,000, 7,000, 7,500.
yeah, I'm not sure, right? 5 or 6, I think, maybe.
Not easy, take some of the general fund,
Correct.
and then take the rest of it. I still think we need to leave a little bit of balance in there in case we have, because that's not a budgeted item. Those are something that we could tap in if you have bridge or something, or culvert or something you have to do last minute. We didn't have that money.
No, that's just savings on his.
That's projected savings, you take it out of this year's budget, and then he's just gonna have to make sure that something else sneaks up, because that should easily cover, some of that should cover that. And then you can use 130 or so out of specialized, huh?
Leaves about 30,000.
That leaves about 30 in case something else comes up last minute. that we don't have.
And also that trailer, he said all I'd have to do is go down to Big 80, buzz me out there and, look at it. I mean, it looks good in pictures, but, if you didn't look at it before you commit, which would probably be a bad idea.
Where's that?
Out by Hayes,
Hey,
I'd go look at it.
just to make sure.
Well, yeah, you should inspect it. You should at least take a look at it before you purchase.
Yeah, he said he would drive, he said it's no problem.
Unless they're gonna warranty it for a long time.
Where you can,
Yes.
I have some contracts here.
Well, we could move on. Track over.
Yeah, I don't have anything on the trailer, because,
Yeah,
but,
I go look at that.
you wanna give me the authority to
You,
tell them we'll take it if it looks good, or whatever you wanna do?
Let's see what we got. Purchase price of $59,000.
The last page just needs the initial.
I'd go out there and look at it, it looks good. I mean, don't be like a kid in a candy store, kind of, they're gonna get $2,000 or $3,000 off of it, good.
Maybe give them off the cover of the hydraulic unit.
There you go.
well, I know I did some shopping over the weekend. I knew we considered $50,000 and $60,000 for that brand in particular, so.
Yeah, that's a good brand, awesome.
Maybe a question or so.
Yeah.
We have a motion on that.
No, we're just reviewing the contract.
Just one other quick thing, like, had a person request to go look at the tube on 302nd Road and Chase, on the east side of the road, see if we can put extensions on it, so semis can make it turn.
302 and Chase?
Yeah.
Yeah.
While he's here,
Ms. Campbell, yeah. That's
you
what
want to
we're-
talk about golf?
Yeah, I want to get this, we probably need to,
Yeah,
Billy wants to take a look at it real quick.
pretty fine, pretty fast.
Yeah. No, I need a motion to approve purchase bid of excavator from Foley Equipment, amount of $159,000 for an excavator.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Carried 3-0. You need all three signatures.
And you said that he was gonna do an oil test on this, or oil test it?
They have.
They do it regular, when they, means it's in their rental fleet, whenever they change the oil, they do, now, so, what he told me,
That's delivered
to the shop.
Just see who your name on there, in case the county.
Pull all three of them.
You want to ask them very proud, they don't sign off on that too.
A new hoe is close to 300,
Yeah, 280.
and this hoe here has 1,452 hours on it, so we thought that was a fairly good price. That's substantial savings. Look at that.
While you're here, we got, Mrs. Campbell?
So, do I have approval, what about the trailer?
Go look at it first.
Yeah, let's look at that
Bring
first
it back,
for you.
yeah, bring it back, put you on the board.
Oh, man, you just did with 190 for computer stuff.
Hey, something I've already didn't move.
Okay, please sit down,
Okay,
or stand if you want, whichever.
well, my name's Ethel Campbell, and I'm the trustee of the Ellsworth Village Trust. I wanted to talk to you about the replacement bridge on the Dalby, River Road. I guess the Kansas Department of Transportation suggested that, well, not them, I'm sorry, the lady that, gives the money, suggested to move the bridge out of the right-of-way of the railroad. If that happens, then we will be, remove that bridge off the, right-of-way where it is, it will affect the, Ellsworth Village Trust funds. So I'm coming today to let you know that, because we are just right south of that bridge, as you go across the bridge. So right south of that bridge into the west side. So that, being in a trust and being, part of that trust,
there were like 3 or 4 different proposals on redoing that bridge. I mean, that was one alternate, but I don't think we officially endorsed or approved going forward with any. That's still scheduled for 2014, is that right?
Yeah.
It is scheduled for 2014, but what the 2 articles that I saw in the
Okay.
paper, I believe that's what we can bring to your attention.
Absolutely. No, it's just one of 4, I think there's 4 different alternates, I think, as far as, it gets real sticky with railroad rights of way.
However,
The engineers.
I think all 3 of them did go for it, didn't they?
I
Because
thought
some
one
of
was replace it where its current spot was. I thought
Yeah, there was
1 or 2 of the alternates.
There was one, yeah, I think there's about 3 different options.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them was approximately 100 feet to the west.
Right, that's what.
And that's where we've been.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were 1 or 2 of the alternates were in its existing place, just changing the structure of it.
But right now, I think the option to move it to the west is, that's KDOT's recommendation.
But they'll take it into consideration too.
Right.
But just wanted to bring that to you.
That's good to know before the fact, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yes.
Do you have a contact phone number that if we have questions or need to get a hold of you, would you be able to give that to Pauline
Okay.
or Matt?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe I spoke with you on the phone
Oh, you
there.
have?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I've
did.
actually.
Okay,
He's
okay.
got it, yeah.
So I'll make contact with you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your attention. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jim?
Good afternoon.
Got some questions for you on reclassification of some land value.
Okay.
And I think we got several people probably here in the room, probably possibly have some questions on this too. Please raise your hand if you have questions concerning changes in classification on land values, on the wasteland.
I had Roger Hand from PVD that would have been here today going on this, and
Okay.
he agreed to turn down, but I got moved to Wednesday, so I didn't know.
Okay. So he's not coming down until when?
Well, he's not coming down, I mean, I was canceled that, but, I mean, if we wanted it at some future time, just let me know, I would call him.
Okay.
We could have representation from the property value department.
It's probably good. At a future point, having him come down and give us some direction on this.
Well, make it a little bit formal for, from their side. I mean, I got some information. He didn't have to be in today, I recall, but, he seems to be more of a guy targeted on this.
These are, I didn't do this until about Thursday of last week, had a message sent out to other county appraisers, and this is the only ones in this short notice was able to get back with me on their opinion of what they've been doing, because you asked if other counties were doing anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's their exact words, I didn't change it at all, so. There are some other counties doing some of that. I think a couple of things that have come up in talking to taxpayers on hearings, and also talking to Roger, he's talking about pasture or range land. He's even questioned that counties even use the terminology waste at all. I mean, if the ground can't grow anything, including trees, then it could be considered as waste. But if it grows anything at all, then it should be either grass or rangeland. So if that's the case, even the ones that we didn't change from waste ground classification of under 50% trees would need to be looked at as probably calling it as native grass if they haven't seeded it at all among the trees. other change that might have to happen. I have also given some consideration to an areas that it's fenced and the cattle is running, and they're saying the cattle is running among the trees and eating what little vegetation that may be there, switching that to native grass. In this case, where there are trees, I've had 2 hearings on that at this point.
I talked to Mr. Bob Weber of Lumber County to ask, that's what he said they was gonna do, they was gonna call it grassland with coverage.
State says to quit using the canopy cover, and they did that several years ago.
I just thought.
I know, he's not the only county that's doing that, but state doesn't want us to use canopy coverage. And that I did verify. So, he needs to check that one out.
The lady that I talked to is right along the same line as you. You know, she thinks we have way too much wasteland. I mean, wasteland is what her opinion was, is basically a ditch that you can't grow nothing on. And if, you know, they have a few trees around it, which is good to help sustain it, maintain the ditch a little bit, but an area that's got all trees, maybe doesn't necessarily, shouldn't be wasteland, but it could be classified as a lowest ag class if it was.
Native and tame grass right now is valued the same per acre. So, native or
And
tame
it's,
would matter.
what is it? That's what it usually have. Of course, it depends on the soil type too.
They all have different values on soil types, even within native and tame, yes.
That's what I got. And she was explaining to me that was not just her opinion as far as that goes. That, you know, the local appraisers have the latitude, you know, on that, but as far as wasteland, she agrees that we probably got more land, not necessarily Atchison County, but even statewide, there's probably more being considered wasteland than what truly is, because it is such it's not truly a wasteland. I mean, there is some value in it. It may not be at the value of the other classification that we, you know, that we see on this sheet, but it would be a little higher than wasteland. So you've had some hearings in, so?
Oh, I've been running hearings for the last few weeks. I've got a very big schedule for tomorrow.
On this?
Well, a lot of it's been a variety of everything on hearings, but yes, I've had some agriculture hearings. Yes, definitely.
Probably been on even ag land too, probably, some people.
We've had a lot of increase in the ag use values went up about 20%. We've had several properties went up more than that because they converted like 10 or 20% of their ground is now into crop versus ag, so they had a big increase in their total value, yes. So we've had a few of those too.
Yeah, what I understand about that one of the class that I went to is there's a little bit more objectivity in that formula. You know, there is subjectivity because there's other real factors in terms of market, not necessarily the market value of the land, but crop prices, soil type, those kind of things. And land usage that determines that more so than because it brought $10,000 an acre. So, I mean, you don't have quite the latitude, and there's kind of a formula that you have to follow on that one, so. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of this started from people buying inside of these counties with a lot of tree areas, and they're not farmers, they're just buying it for whatever purpose they might want to use it for, other than farming.
You mean the other classification?
Yeah, and I think that's where it started. And then those 2 court orders came about, and they used the word predominantly, so I took that as more than 50%. So we have a lot of places that may have 40% trees. Well, if that's the case, they're still on as waste, but I'm not for sure if those should stay as waste, but maybe native grass. They'll need to maybe be looked at again. But again, we have the hearing process, and you know, I'll discuss it with the taxpayers, and then from there, of course, we can take it to the next level and see if we can change our court order. If they decided that we need to look at it, or I need to be looked at it in a different way. That's why there's a hearing process.
For those of you out there in the crowd, have you got your hearing set up? Is that the way you want to go? If not, that's what you'd suggest, would you, is to sit down and meet with them?
Absolutely, yeah. Debbie's setting my appointment schedule, and if I don't have enough days, I'll have more days.
I do have one question. If I heard you correctly, you said that they're going to eliminate all of the wasteland, is that what you're saying?
No. The lady I talked to down there, her opinion was that there's probably a little more land being considered wasteland than what really truly is. In other words, if it's not a ditch that's, I mean, you can't do nothing with it, throw junk or something in it, that's truly wasteland. But if it's a parcel that's got, doesn't have a ditch and has trees and stuff, it probably still has a little more minimum value than the $10 assessed value that wasteland. I mean, it doesn't
Well,
have.
what would be the next?
Well, that's what I said, I don't know whether, that's a determining thing that she didn't give me. I think she gave me a range, what I thought I understood, was something between $50 and $70.
So that's a little better than what I heard, because I kind of heard that it would go from $10 to $1,100 an acre. I'm not hearing that here.
My wooded classification on where the land is more than 50% trees did go to $1,100 an acre, and that's what people have been paying for it.
Oh, wait a minute, what?
Sure, I have a question. My name's Calvin Bullrich, and I have not asked to have a meeting with him, but I'm a person that's in and out, so I don't know whether I'll be here for a meeting or not. My question is this: is this a grandfathered action that's being taken by our county, our township, our people, or is this across the board Kansas? And if so, have they determined to come out and actually assess that property and determine whether it is wasteland? I have property that I can't walk on, and you can tell me it's worth $1,100 an acre, but you can't walk on it. If you do, I guarantee you won't run on it. So in the gist of all of it, is there any consideration to grandfathering some of the areas until you can have an opportunity to determine whether or not it is truly wasteland, rather than just go and strike the whole system? That's my comment.
Well, the guidelines that I go by is from the state statutes and it's controlled by the Department of Revenue, the Property Value Department. These same guidelines are throughout the whole state, 105 counties. And there hasn't been a clear-cut definition on waste ground, and that's why we'd like for you to come in on a hearing so we can better understand your grant. What we're looking at is aerial maps, and what we see on that, we can tell how much is trees and how much is crop and how much is grass. And what I did is where that land was more than 50% in trees, that went to wooded classification, which is what a lot of these people from other counties are buying. It's not farmers, and I understand that. But even at that, on your tree areas, even if you were under the 50%, I'd like to be able to discuss with you on those parcels so we can label them on our map. So my maps and my what we call the Orion system, which is the valuation program, can match, and we know what we're looking at, and I get my notes in there. So anybody behind me can look at that and says, okay, you got 20 acres of just not good for anything. We can state that. Now, trees do have some value. I mean,
yes, they fall across your fence, they plug up the, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, we need
I
to
just
discuss those things.
Certainly. I just felt like that, in order to determine the value of something, it has to have some usefulness to it. And I heard them talking about using native grasses and those type of things, but they don't grow under trees. You have to find some way to till the rock to get it sprouted. I think it really determines that we need to have a look-see. Someone does. You can't just take a broad stroke of the pen. You can fly over and take a picture,
Well, that's why I'm asking you to come in. I mean, you may
We'll do
have
it.
ground that you
We'll do it.
can't get to, no matter how
We'll
you try.
we'll-
And we've had landlocked, I was kind of interested, I found, we have landlocked areas that, I've actually had one that, the guy that owns it doesn't own any of the adjacent ground around it, he has to get to it by some other method.
Sure.
But that was, he said that started a long, long time ago, so you guys probably correct me on this. People were getting tree areas for heating sources many, many years ago, probably in the 1800s. And he said some of these parcels got parceled out like that for trees, for heating sources. People go in there just to get the trees to heat their houses.
I thank you.
Would that change your classification, somebody bought some parcel and that's what they explained what they bought it for? I know a couple situations where that was the case, that's the reason they bought it for.
Well, but then you're still growing something on it. It wouldn't be true waste, but it might be more,
Right.
more the range, what they call range ground.
But does it fall into the other category? There's quite a, I guess what their concern is, and is it starts at 10 and now we got, there's not much in between that 10 and $1,100.
Exactly.
There you go,
Exactly.
I think that's the biggest
That's
concern,
exactly.
and that's what I think we're trying to, my concern that I'm hearing, and I hope these people understand, I mean, we want to work, you have, between you and the state, you guys have parameters that you work with. I mean, we can't just take Jim out here behind the woodshed and say, hey, let's do this, okay? But that's why we want to go through this process and try to figure out, what is fair and what's, assessment on this property. I had a guy just called me before I left down here, and just happened to see him at church, and I said, well, you checked here, he hadn't opened his valuation. And I said, well, you had a parcel on there, and he thought it was this 50 or 60 acres. Well, it didn't, it was a .910 of an acre that his dad back in the 20s bought. Because somebody had abandoned, they changed the creek, and he thinks he's not even sure where it is. He admitted, he said, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but he thinks it's even landlocked. And he said, there's just trees growing on it. And it's $39 is what the taxes be on that 9/10 of an acre. And he said, I can afford it, but he says, why do if I can't do nothing with it, less than $39?
I'm considering accessibility to the properties.
Now, I can't say, he said he didn't know for sure. He thinks it could be because of the way they changed the creek, that it could be landlocked, but, and, I mean, it's surprising this guy's had it for 60 years. So.
I've had 4 landlocked hearings already.
What's the difference in valuation on rangeland versus the wooded area?
Well, if you go into rangeland, the only other classification would be to call it native grass. As projected, they don't have another classification other than other. I don't want other, that's back in the 30% assessment. But we could, under range ground, include areas with trees. And that, but like I said, the code in our system would say it's native.
Well, I know there's a diverse, you can get a diverse number of reasons why it's trees. And, there's some reasons I think if somebody's legitimate, I'm gonna call this an Ashland County safari, if you open a business for loaning or renting it out to people, why, I think that's commercial, I think it's legitimate. But I know there's some places that you can't do anything else with it, whether it's on a hill, a bluff, or something like that. And trees serve as a conservation measure, but you can't do much else with it. And if you don't use it commercially, if you're harvesting trees or something like that, that might present a different evaluation. But if it's just there for purposes of conservation, whether it be for wildlife or holding the soil, I mean, to me, it makes sense that we have some kind of, there ought to be a category, maybe statutorily, something that the legislature needs to, to look at, to give you, because it'd make your job a little easier.
The forestry department also has a stewardship program that you can enroll your trees in. The only thing with that, I checked with the state, I said if they did that, it would still go to ag classification, but it would be under the crop section. So, but there is that one too.
We have a question back here, is it Mr. Luce?
Yeah, my name's Ken Luke, and I'm in partnership with my farm with my brother Steve. I think the biggest complaint I have on this is it was raised too much, too quickly. For instance, last year's evaluation on one parcel of my land, but there's 295 acres and there's two parcels, a parcel and a part of a parcel. The one parcel was evaluated last year at $4,800 appraised value. This year it jumped to $111,910. Now, folks, my wages don't increase like this. My retirement that I'm on will never increase like this. None of you people's wages this year is going to increase like that. So it's just way too much of a drastic jump too quickly. I don't care if it's state law or not. It's too much of a jump at one time. Now, if you would gradually taken and increased this a little at a time, carried it out throughout several years, and Mr. Lemke, you were saying it can be needed for some years, then let's take and do it progressively a little at a time. A big jump like this puts people through shock, and it hurts a lot, a pocketbook, which that's going to make my taxes on that, because the assessed value this year went from last year to $1,440 to $33,593. That's a 2,331% increase. That's way too much. And I think that's the biggest complaint that people have on here on timberland. This land was purchased so we could do some deer hunting. They were losing deer hunting privileges everywhere. So we had to buy in order to have that. Now, I realize I chose to do the deer hunting and enjoy it with my family. I cannot enjoy it when there's increases like this.
What you pay for
And
the
that's hard to
property?
say. Pardon?
How much an acre did you pay for the property?
How much did I have to pay for the property 10 years ago?
Yes.
I don't think that at that time that needs to be discussed. Because it is up for
All that
sale.
we used for deer hunting should have been market value taxed at that point. You should have been paying that tax for 10 years.
Okay, but gradually then it should have been increased a little bit at that time instead of all at one time. That's my complaint, it's just all at one, too much too fast. See what I'm saying?
No,
So-
I should have caught that, that's my mistake, should have been caught at market value back when you bought it 10 years ago.
Well,
And you
taxes
should have
on my
had that.
house and everybody else's houses that increased.
Is that market
Again,
value?
my
Is that
point
market
was,
value?
it's too much too quick, see? And it's hard to swallow at one time. And if it's going to be where we need it, then let's do it a little at a time and progressively. Yes, it's gonna take a while to get caught up, and you'll never get caught up as far as collecting for the tax for the county. But it's gonna be more accessible or accepted by the people than it would be having it all at one time. And I think that's the biggest complaint most people have out here, it's just too much too fast.
Yeah, I think,
And that's my
yeah,
point.
I think what I hear more is, I mean, is just it's either 10 or it's 1,100. I mean, that's.
I'm sorry?
It's either $10 or it's $1,100.
Right, yeah, I mean, from $1,440 to $33,573 assessed value. And if it's anything close to the taxation that we've had on the previous years, then that's gonna make it $3,891 next year for one parcel. And then the other parcel will then be 4,000 something from assessed value of $2,325. This year, we paid $254.90. It would probably go to not $4,656.28 using what's being taxed this year. And that's just a big, big increase, you know.
Well, you know, and Jim, I want you to step in here. My understanding is that there's two processes, there's two appeal processes. You can work with Jim now.
Right.
And try to get something changed. You don't like it, you still go to the Court of Appeals, but then you're done. Or if you miss out now, you can pay your taxes under protest, and then maybe an adjustment later on, but you can't do both.
But I think that just my point was, it's just too fast, too sudden.
And we don't, I mean, I'm trying to put Jim on the spot, but technically the state and Jim they kind of set that, you know, and he's definitely working within his parameters per se. It's just, you know, a matter of us, the county, working together to define where we want to be. I know other neighboring counties are looking at it, but they haven't fully implemented it. I mean, I talked to 3 other counties, and they're not, I don't know if they got as much timberland per se as we do. They're a little more open in agriculture, you know, as far as cropland. So it may not affect them as much, but, you know, we have, with the bluffs and stuff, you know, we have a lot more wooded areas than the average county, particularly in proportion to the land area that we got, so.
Well, I could cut every tree on every acre and still never come up with this kind of, evaluation, you know what I'm saying? And that's, it's just, again, it's just too much too fast. That was my point.
No, I'd say, get
You'll
something
see the
set up,
deal
but yeah,
process,
yes, I suggest that strongly, so.
Thank you.
Yes, Wilbur Ferguson, south of Atchison. I guess I don't understand the classification O. It appeared this year, I look back several years, I've never seen that classification. And my question is this a new classification, or has this been around and just never been applied? And if it is,
Rock between a hard place here. I can't do nothing with it, but I can't, can't sell it either.
Well, they want, excuse me, I don't mean to be speaking out of turn, but it sounded like to me that the state wants to take all of our ground back. Well, I don't know how in the heck we can afford to pay that kind of taxes on it. I can't afford it. So I'd be just about as well off the hell and come take it. I can't pay the taxes, brother. It's yours.
Well, I think, just hearing everybody, I think we need to get some more facts, some more facts on the special PBD.
I got a question for you, Commissioner. How many of you think, when I go to Topeka with Jim, that they're gonna side with me over when he talks to PBD every damn day? What kind of ruling you think I'm gonna get? Do you think they're gonna be for me, or you think they're gonna be for him?
Quarter tax appeals is hired by
I
the
didn't ask
governor.
you, Jim, I asked the commissioners.
Re-ask your question again, I was trying to figure out what
When I
you're asking.
file my appeal to go to the state,
Mhm.
how many of you think that the state's gonna side with me over him?
I don't know if anybody's gonna answer, I mean, it probably depends on
You got
the
your
situation, what the proof, I mean, I think it could, you got a 50-50 chance of
Pony
something.
show. All I go down there is make a fool out of me. Won't do one bit of good, and if I understand it right, I still can't pay under protest. I mean, if somebody state wants to buy my ground for what they think it's worth, that's fine. They can have
I've
it.
got mine for sale too, brother.
Yeah.
Well, but then I wanna know too from Jim, how long do I have to own this before I can get in, realize the income off of it and pay this kind of tax? We've already owned it for 65 years and got to get the first penny off of it yet. So how much longer do we have to hold it to get any revenue to pay this property tax?
I mean, there's a lot of questions, I mean, these are valid questions, it's a big change.
Well, this is just like everywhere I go. You can't get an answer from nobody.
Well, we're trying to work on that, Dennis, I know it's frustrating, that's why we've got people up here, that's why we're.
Good to hear you.
I think first thing they need to do, they need to go back, instead of having one class wasteland and, or agriculture, there's just too much difference between the 10 and 1100. They should have gradual steps in there, whether it be grassland or whatever, like the $50. I think probably everybody in here would say, we can live with that. Assessed at $50 an acre. Isn't that what you mentioned about
Yeah, some grasslands are around 50.
Yes, I don't think you'd have any complaints.
And market value is 1,100 too high. I mean, if they can't sell for more than 300 or 400, then they're more than happy to come and talk to me. I need to look at it again.
We'll show some probably some sales, we probably get some sales of that property within the last 2 or 3 years.
I've got sales that supports 1,100 at this
Well,
point, but
that's what I'm
that
saying,
doesn't
last 3 or 4
mean
years.
that their property may not be as desirable as the one that I did get information on.
The only problem I see with that, you have people that don't know what farm ground looks like, and they know farm ground holds value, so instead of putting their money in a bank and getting less than 1%, they're buying ground. So why should the people that's born and raised in agriculture be penalized for those that just invest their money in a different source?
Right.
But
And that's basically why land values have tough.
But to obtain values even on houses or anything, I have to look at what people are selling and what people are buying for it. That's all I can go by.
I'm surprised PUD hasn't explored ways to, I know that they've had trouble in the past accessing data from FSA and RCS. Has there been any more talk about them trying to, this is the downside is that, I don't know, most of you are aware, but like FSA offices and RCS offices do not share that data with state PUD. So when you have these hearings, like when Jim's talking about intended use or ag use, he doesn't know because, number one, we can't get that data. So it's very difficult for us to figure out what exactly it's being used for. And that's where the hearing process, if you come in and tell us what exactly is going on, then we can actually make some changes on that. But that's been kind of an ongoing issue probably for quite a few years.
Now, this office has helped that office. We gave them all the current property lines and we gave them all the ownership records, which I was told, say, the farmers from coming down here and getting deeds out of the Register of Deeds office every time they did something. But they haven't
shared.
Yeah, they haven't shared with us, and of course, they haven't asked anything from us for the last 3 or 4 years either, but we did get their maps updated when we did that.
Yeah, Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, Steve Luke again. I guess the thing that I'm upset with the most is, if you look at the state of Kansas, the first third section of the state of Kansas has more timber than the other 2 sections of the state. Going, the further west you go, the more open ground you go, the less timber you have. So therefore, you can farm it and make an income off of it. We're being punished in the eastern part of the state because there's property that we can't do anything with. And I think that's the biggest complaint everybody's got, is that why are we getting the hammer thrown on us, and the rest of the state sitting out there going, gee, I'm glad I don't live in the eastern part of Kansas. You know, there should have been public hearings on this before something like this was set up, instead of just throwing it down our throats now and wondering why everybody's up in an uproar. I mean, if there was some public hearings on it, I'm sure the guy that lives out at Dodge City, if he got the same thing out there, he'd raise hell just like we are right here. He'd be protesting. Because there's some sections out there, some holes and different things out there that have brush and trees in them. If they went out there and said, well, there's an acre right there, a hole, you're gonna pay $1,100 for that hole. Can't do nothing with it, but you're gonna pay for it. You know, it's not equal taxation. We're being punished in the eastern part of the state for the ground, the hills, the bluffs, the creeks that we have on the eastern part of the state of Kansas.
So, Mr. Bell?
Yeah, I talked to Charlie Purdue, and she wasn't able to be here today, but he said that he received a letter at the end of August or 1st of September notifying him of this monstrosity of the tax increase. I didn't receive one. Did anyone in this room receive one?
No.
No. No.
The newspaper was kind enough to put a front page notice in the paper about this changes.
Newspaper.
The newspaper.
But did he send some letters out, Jim?
No, I'm only required to send out valuation notices.
Well, how come he said he got one? Yeah.
I'd have to go back to his record to see why he was in my office. He probably was in my office to call me for some reason. And then I usually follow up on it. Try to keep, you know, if somebody has
He
questions.
said he received this letter, and then he happened to be up here at the courthouse and come and see you after that.
Well, my office is open, I'd be glad to talk to about these things with people.
I mean, if I would've got a letter at the end of August or 1st September, I'd had time to have a recourse. But I don't. I mean, it's.
Well, that's why we have a hearing process, and you know, you still got, you know, I'd take at least a couple more days to call in and get a hearing set up.
we did not mail notifications.
Value changes from year to year, notices by laws, is when I send out valuation notices, that's what it is. That's why we send them out, that's why we have a hearing process, and that's the whole purpose of it.
I understand the surrounding counties is not gonna go to this zero classification on timber or wasteland.
No.
Is that correct?
No, that's not right. They haven't implemented it yet.
So they have not like patched the tanks.
According to the ones I've talked to, no, they haven't. They've looked at it, and there's a possibility. Here again, without knowing much about the other counties, we don't know how much it affects, how much timberland they've got,
So we're gonna be the guinea pig when it comes to all of this, that we're gonna file all the complaints and all of the hearings, do all the hearings, do all of that up front for the rest of the county, so they can sit back and go, oh, God, I don't wanna do this.
Here's a quarter words from Sumner County, did it in 2009.
Where is Sumner County at?
Somewhere in Kansas.
Sumner County would be like Wellington, because I got some friends that live down in Wellington. Sumner County would be Wellington, would be just,
It's on the border of Oklahoma.
I don't think I think there's another county yet, but it's close, so it's in the Wellington area.
I think they'd have to be farther out west.
Straight southwest stuff.
Yeah. They don't have the bluffs and the hills and
Scheduled
the wooded area we have around here.
You said you had something scheduled with them on Wednesday, is that right?
No, he said he could have it up here. I think it'd only be fair, to Jim too, that we have another hearing and let them go up and explain, and then to let more people, if they wanna, hear what the state has to say, because, Jim's explained as best as his ability, and, I wanna hear directly. I mean, I've talked to 2 or 3 people in the state, and I wanna make sure that, I'd assume they would talk themselves, because what I'm hearing, I think is gonna basically what they're gonna, say too, but the same token, I think that would give you people that are, are concerned, rightfully so, like Dennis, that'd be a good time to ask one of them about the odds if you went to a court of appeal. I don't know what the court of appeals is made up of, I really don't know.
Well, the way I understand it, there's more than one. But you just get one hearing officer comes out here, or if you go before a judge, or, I'm not quite sure. I haven't researched this enough yet to know exactly what happens.
I don't either, so, but
Well,
that's,
they set up what's called small claims, that from me, if you go to small claims, that's an individual hired by the Court of Tax Appeals to listen to both sides, and he will make a decision. After that decision is made, the taxpayer and or I have the rights to appeal it to the next level. And the next level is the Court of Tax Appeals. The Court of Tax Appeals are hired by the government, so they're not related to the Property Value Department as such. They are a separate entity.
they may be in or out of state people, that we don't know.
They're supposed to have the background of knowledge
Right,
of
what I mean is,
appraising.
would they necessarily have to be from the state of Kansas?
Pretty sure they're
I think they are.
I think they are.
They're usually attorneys.
I think we should schedule,
Very
a
good.
date, community director, have him come up here, have a hearing on that there's still a lot of questions.
But the only hearing changes is through me at this point, not through,
Well, unless you call it in the protest, yeah, but I think you still could get some questions answered too, as far as that goes. I mean, I think it'd be fair to you to, back you up on that, hear from them, but, you said Roger, what's his name, Roger?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he wasn't in the office when I called, and so they sent me to the ag man lady, which is Zoe here.
so, yeah.
And then I talked to their attorney.
Zoe is the department that comes out with ag use values, by the way, so you know who you're talking to.
She may want to come along too.
There you go.
Is there any chance to get an extension on this for the people to appeal, because we haven't got much time to, you said you had a couple of days for hearings, that's the first process, so.
Well, they've had 30 days from the notice.
Yeah. true, but like I said, someone had.
I haven't had enough. Some of us didn't get enough to sit. I guess.
I don't think I have to be hard-nosed in that. If I need to extend that for another week or so, I could do that. But if I'll start getting into some other deadline problems if I go too far.
Well, understand. I think I'm gonna quit after this. There's two things I'm hearing. One, we're looked at under the whole state's, eyes of economic productivity. Well, that's one factor. The other factor that we're looked at is what someone is paying for that product in this area. They're not co-equal. The product that they're buying, they have another plan for. It may not affect these people and the production of their property. So I think that it's gonna do, like you said, we need to talk to you, but we need to have time to do that and make that evaluation. So I would recommend that we have an extension asked for, and that anyone that is in the community that's like some of us that have not got that information have an opportunity to appeal or come to you and go through that evaluation. I think it's too quick. I think it's happened too quick.
I think the state will allow me. Would April 15th for people to call, not to have the hearings, but to call in and set up a hearing, April 15th, that'd be far enough down the
I
line?
think it should be, but it should be posted. It shouldn't be in the newspaper. I don't get the newspaper. I use a website.
Mary has signed yet.
Pardon?
Mary has signed yet.
Oh, she's gonna do
Well,
that.
I guess that's my question. I mean, what do we wanna do? I mean, do we need to ask Jim, I mean, because it's really kind of out of our hand, but do we need to put a letter out to all these people?
How many parcels are we talking about?
177, I think.
177 parcels that were.
And, you know, some of them involve, you know, there's not that many, because some of them have duplicate parcels as far as that goes. But I mean, just to make it fair, I mean, I understand, you know, not everybody, you know, reads it, not everybody can, if we had it online, you know, on our website, not everybody can do that, but, and I'm gonna tell you right now, there's no 100% guarantee if you put in the postal service, it's gonna get you involved.
Sure.
You know, so, I think, you know, maybe, too, that you need to be talking to your neighbors too, I mean, as far, so make sure that they're aware too, so that we can get as many people, make as gallant an effort as we could, and I don't want to, I mean, we're not trying to hammer Jim with extra, but I mean, I think you guys have all been pretty civil, I really appreciate that we want to make something that's fairly palatable for everybody, and we don't want to be an example one way or another in the state in doing something that we wish we had never done, you know, done as far as that goes, so. But, you know, support of Jim, I mean, there was a ruling somewhere, and it basically was because clearly, these people bought this property, and they let the grass grow up, I mean, and they did it for a tax write-off, because they was having their clients come in and hunt and stuff, I mean, it was a commercial safari, I call it, so, okay, and, so.
But if it's used for that, then tax it for that.
And that's a ruling, I mean,
You know, but if it's not being used for that, personal use, like my brother mentioned that we deer hunted on it, yeah, we deer hunt as a family. We don't charge anybody to come in, we don't advertise as a hunting club, we don't do none of that. We're lucky enough to have some farmers around us that farm our place and everything, and they farm it for crops, and we have that listed under as crops, and there's very little ground there that's tillable. So, I mean, but the thing of it is, we're just, like he said a while ago, it's just too fast, too quick. We feel we haven't had an opportunity to voice our opinions on this, or voice our concerns, I should say, not opinions, concerns on this, because, you know, it's just too late. It's just too late.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna extend it to the 15th to file an appeal.
Well, that's Jim's fault.
Yeah,
not
is
ours.
that okay?
That's okay with me, then we'll have, but I need to get the hearing set within the next couple of weeks, if we can.
I don't get them.
You can keep that if you want.
So with the goal of by the end of having hearing set and hearings actually taking place.
Yeah, then it'll still take me a couple of weeks to get the results.
Right, you gotta get this done, I mean,
Yeah, we just gotta figure out how you're gonna notify them.
No, extend the date for the hearing, that's already talk, no, I mean, if they want to put it, but no, I haven't planned on seeing anything like that out.
Postcards or, just thinking that obviously people aren't, not everybody's like getting notification, I'm just trying to think of other
Are you
avenues.
talking about just the ones with O class, but at that point, we should do it to everybody. I mean, to be fair and equal, I mean, even the houses. If you're talking about that terminology, if you want to do that.
Well, I'm just thinking that people receive letters, and if it's been posted in the paper, and people still haven't opened it up or read it, obviously.
You can't go make them open their mail.
I know, I'm just saying, are there other ways to advertise?
You're going to miss somebody, even if you said another notice,
I
and
know.
they not look at it.
I agree with that.
Payment under protest is there for a reason. When they see the tax bill relate to it, then it'll bring their attention.
So let's figure out let's figure out this week on how we can notify everybody.
Well, I think we just have to, if we have to say so on Monday, if that lodger was available, if we set aside an hour for a hearing or something like that, I mean.
Well, I think we can do that regardless.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, I mean, I'm assuming these people, plus some of your neighbors, would be willing to come back and just listen to what they have to say. I mean, Jim's pretty well laid out, you know, and like I said, our hands are tied, but Jim's kind of explained the parameters he's working in, but if, you know, that he works more with the state per se than he does us, when it really comes down to it. But if they come up and you can ask them questions directly, and I think, Dennis, you have good questions to ask him, maybe he come near telling you or not answering either as far as that goes. He would know a whole lot more than I do about the process anyway. But, yes.
When you make a mistake, who would you particularly be talking about? What individual from the state would you be looking at?
The property valuation department, I
Yes.
believe, is who we're talking about, right?
Is that who we'd be facing?
That's where Roger Ham is from, yeah. Yeah, Roger Ham is from that, but.
What is his title? I mean, Zoe is the ag land specialist, but what's his? Because he got.
But I think unfortunately, it's still gonna come right back to me. I mean, if I made a mistake and it needs to be proven through the hearing process, and if it's not, then it should stand the way it was sent out. I mean, try to explain some of this, but I don't know that you're gonna accomplish anything, to be honest with you.
I think I'd leave it up, if they want to hear from him, he's willing to come up, maybe we'll pay tax dollars for him, but it's not, you know, that he's gonna override what, you know, he's just gonna listen to their concerns, but it may be something that they need to address in terms of looking at this O class.
That's fine.
I mean,
Let's see if we can schedule it for
that's
the
what
8th.
bothers me more than anything, this O class, that circle's getting too big.
You didn't want to afternoons on that day.
It's a O.
On Monday, I have canvassing votes, so it has to be after.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're probably more like 3 o'clock, I
3 o'clock,
guess.
okay. I just don't have it written down there, but
Okay.
Okay, I'll try to get set up for you.
That'd be great.
And the other will extend to call in for a hearing, to set up hearing to April 15th.
And end of the April 15th?
Yes, you know, or next 5 o'clock. Whatever day, I told them, we got any. Okay.
For any of you that don't have your hearing set up, I would suggest you go down, get your hearing today, and get on the list, if you so choose.
Absolutely.
Okay. Debbie or Belinda downstairs can help you.
I'm wondering if they have joint property, maybe two of them.
Is there any way we can have a public hearing on this? We all know that going in there one at a time is not gonna do a damn thing.
Well, everybody,
We're gonna go in and voice our opinion, and it's gonna be shut down, throw in the waste can, and that's gonna be the last of it. If we have a public hearing to where the public can actually stand up and talk, now, I understand, it's gotta be ruling, it's gotta be, you know, within bounds, but we need, instead of just one individual talking across the table, sometimes it doesn't make it across the table to the other set of ears. Because that individual is doing his job through the state of Kansas, but maybe we need to go a step above this. Maybe we need to go to the state and protest.
the only thing I would think of, if you had a massive public hearing like that, each person's property is different, everybody has something unique. Maybe not everybody wants to share, well, not that you can't go on and look at property values, but, you know, I think the one-on-one process, I think, is probably the most efficient, I would assume, at this point. Public hearing, obviously, if PBD comes in, that's obviously a public hearing. But as far as like your specific property, as far as getting away from, you know, working with the appraiser one-on-one, I don't know if the state would look at changing something like that. I mean, you can protest, you know, any representatives, or I think anytime there's a legislative update or something like that, these are good things to talk with them about. I mean, these are issues that are real, that happen on a daily basis. Well, we're looking at today, it's obviously a concern of a lot of people, so those are good issues to bring up with our local representatives at the state level.
It's a legislative process Saturday.
Yeah.
It's a little late in the session, but I mean, it's something that they need to get on the table if we think it's something.
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, you'll let us know if you get some set up with them for next time. Thank you. Good call.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you, sir.
We'll fix my line now, Ronnie.
I would advise you, numbers create more force, so get the word out.
We're here to try to help you, we're here to try to help you, but our hands, I mean, his connection, and Jim's telling you, I mean, his hands are a little behind, I mean, he's within some of these parameters, but, I mean, I think there's probably some flexibility there if you plead your case. We can't tell him to change this, I mean, that's the thing, I talked to the attorney, and that's out of our jurisdiction. Because we appoint or hire him, you know, per se, but we still don't have any, you know, we have no say over, we can't go in and ask him to change the evaluation or something.
I would think that when Jim talks to all of us, we all have separate categories of issues. I would think that he would proportion those out of the people that he came in, and then he would have a stronger impact to whoever's coming in to do a proper assessment of the majority of the problem, rather than just say, I got a bunch of guys in here in Atchison and they're acting up, and, you know, you need to come in here and talk to them. Well, but here's what they specifically had a problem with and why. Not that he won't do that, it's just that.
To me, the value is maybe when that guy from PVD here, if he could hear the concern and see why there's such this disparity of $10 to $1,100.
Yes.
And maybe that'll set in motion something on their part to help, because they're the ones that kind of help set the guidelines for these, you know, these local appraisers and stuff. And, it would be, I got a little shop on my land because I bought 100 acres, tore down pasture, and, you know, it's worth a lot more now. But, you know, I understand, I mean, that's, your ag land formula is a lot, it's based on kind of income producing ability, you might say, more so than it is actual value. And, it's going up, I mean, it went up 11% last year, it went up 19% this year, and under the formula, you'll probably see it go up, continue to go up for the next 3 to 4 years, unless ag prices and yields come way down.
But how can that control the actual productivity value of woods? How does that factor?
Now, you could be imaginary, I mean, you could do.
You know, that's what,
This tree's worth something, but I mean, yeah, but I think the point here was, and like I said, the lady that I talked to, I mean, you know, I got a little hope, she said, well, you know, maybe some of that just needs to be the basic ag land valuation. And, you know, I think maybe some of this is gonna fall, I mean, Mr. Ferguson, if your cattle run through there, I think you got a legitimate, you know, Because it's used for they may not be great, but if there's any hedge in there, they're probably head balls.
Bramble bush.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of shrubs through there.
Yeah.
But what bothers me more is why only if you own a parcel of land and 50% of it, what about those that are 40% and 30% and 20%? Where is the fairness there?
Well, that was the other question, I guess we should have brought it up a little more.
I never did get him to explain this whole classification to my satisfaction.
Well, it kind of, the way I gather it, it just covers everything that they can't categorize better.
Are you going this way?
If this kind of increase, I mean, you're gonna make more money, the farmer will make more money off of a cropland than they will this wooded land. If the farmers that have all these thousands of acres out here was increased on taxation like the wooded land that we're getting hit with, you would have this whole block would be full of people waiting to get in, because it would just, it would impact people too hard. They're making money off of their acreage, we're not making any money off of ours, but we're getting charged more. And I think that's the hard part to swallow.
Might as well give it away. Might as well give it away.
Now you think you're saying.
They pay the taxes on it.
No one would want it with tax like that.
Who's gonna buy it?
Yeah, no one would want it.
I guess that's one of the first thoughts that went through my mind. I was a parcel out where I bought about 6-8 years ago. He paid a decent little price, but it's isolated, but he bought it for, hunting purposes and stuff. And I know it's he's got for sale now. So when this gets out, I think that's going to change the marketability of it, So, yeah, it's like I said, when you go that far, it just has not only the tax burden, the tax shift, but then also the market. I mean, that could drive the price down. I suppose if one of you gives your land away, say it's worth nothing, well, then we can go back and reassess, well, I guess it's worth nothing, so who wants to be the guinea pig?
I don't think, if you read that deal that Jim gave them, and read that statute, it doesn't say anything about in there. I mean, timber trees can be classified as ag ground.
Exactly what it says.
So it's his interpretation, it's not state saying it, it's what.
Well, I think the court really, in fairness, I think that courtroom, and Roger, you probably, the way you talked about it, I mean, it involved a heavily wooded area. I mean, that's where I think that's where he's taken a ruling from. Some of the Court of Appeals, it was a heavily wooded area, and it fell under
Well, I don't know how in the hell.
But the valuation for that wooded area is not the same as cropland. It's so much less.
Oh, you can sow grass under the trees. Yeah.
Now, here again, we're talking about a state issue that they.
I understand, right. And it's hard to get it changed. I think it's how things are interpreted, like you said. They may be going on the wrong trail here. I'm not saying that Mr. Lemke is not, or is on the wrong trail, but I'm saying that maybe he needs to look at it a little bit closer and see if the valuation or the classification of O on this land may be wrong or have some other classifications. There's not too much there. There's nothing about timber. It just says other rural areas on O.
There's gotta be a reason why these other counties haven't jumped on this.
Yeah.
They're sitting back and waiting to see what's gonna happen across the state.
Trying to find out what the.
Again, we're being used as a guinea pig. And I think that's the way all of us feel. We're gonna be used as a guinea pig to set precedents for the rest of the counties around in the state of Kansas to see what they're gonna do. They don't wanna start a nest like we. So, it's just, and according to this paper he gave me, it's the deal that he gave me is for Sumner County, which is what he said, and it's for hunting property. The guy bought the ground to hunt on. You couldn't do anything else on it. He protested it because it was put in the category of other, which put it under 30%. When it went to hearing, the court dropped it down to 23 point some acres of well, no, 23.23 acres, or 23 acres as agricultural land valued at according value, and the other part of it was, classified as, 57.5 acres remained in the other classification, with a market value at $895 per acre. You know, so I mean, it just don't make no sense. And I know you guys sitting there, you're listening to us and everything, but, these hearings, we just don't feel there's enough time left to set these hearings up, even with the extension. His office is gonna be busy from the time he gets here until the time he goes home.
Well, that's your right, and you just have, I get in there and get, appeal your deal, or otherwise you wait till, tax time and protest, and there's still that chance if that.
I can't catch them if they go down the hill.
Timber, they get big.
Thank
you.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thanks for coming out. Thanks for coming out.
Next Monday is when you plan on having the statement.
Yeah, we'll probably make a statement, official statement, when he gets it set. We'll hold it hopefully next Monday at 9 o'clock.
If we know by Wednesday.
Thank you for coming out.
We'll make sure Mary publishes it in, Saturday Globe, plus then we'll have it on our website.
Thank you for coming out. We'll work on it.
Karen, Thanks, bro. Sorry, I was a little, I'm Adrian.
So, give us the.
Maybe I can.
You didn't mind it there.
Right before he said.
It was very interesting meeting, you know, you guys conducted.
Yeah, he did, he did a good job.
I didn't want to agree with
Some
that.
didn't say that there's one over 23.
Oh, yeah.
55.
You know, I didn't want to say, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
And that one,
If
if you
he goes
put
up
things
there,
together, you ought to be able to
Okay,
compare it
so
together.
So we can,
Flip them around.
They just need to have some more clarification. They don't need to have one or one. They need to
Right.
have 4 or 5 brackets.
Right.
Hopefully we can get something done.
Yeah, that's what he
If you don't,
Is this gonna be okay to do it?
You haven't decided how you're gonna use it.
we got pants.
You're gonna assume pay more in taxes, so it's working. And no one will want it if that's actually.
are you related to Robert?
Really?
Robert, and he oversees the school.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. You think, come up, I think they're local.
55, that's fair.
Yeah, he was
Because something might go up to us to buy it.
You know, over we did. Well, a couple of years ago, they had to pull into Lansing.
You need to look at it pretty close, you know what I mean? This is the casual, you know? Maybe not.
Not my rule, I use the judge's interpretation, and the judge actually said,
And then we will cattle on the rest of it. But
and I gotta tell you, he'll get up. If he goes in and talks to Jim, he's farming that area. He'll sit here and think, well, they're not going to want to hunt. And so they're not getting that license. They should be getting that tax break anyways if they're not farming. And the guy goes, Jim, we should have changed the tax to 10 years ago.
Yeah, so they were kind of changed by the system. They're going to have to benefits.
Well, but it didn't take long to figure out. They didn't know what I had to say anyway. But I like him anyway, but it's not, there's a judge.
Okay.
It's not legislation, it was a judge's rule.
How many pages you got?
So, public hearings aren't gonna do anything. And then you can't grandfather in because the state says every 6 years, you need to review all your land applications. Well, if you grandfather people in, there'd be no reason to ever review, because they're just gonna be locked in. So, one of the things about that, you have to value what it is. And so every 6 years, it's going to do a review.
Did you,
That's what I was doing, is just reviewing.
we
the
talked
land.
Matt?
And they're not arguing about what we classify.
Yeah, once you call
They're arguing about,
and talk to Matt, and then I can contact her.
once we define what the use is, how much is that use worth?
Thanks, Roger.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Do you have,
big courtroom today.
any chance you have enough time to talk, redistricting so that I can look at getting on, just putting something on the website? I think you've already talked about it, according to Chase.
Well, have you posted the new proposal?
I have not posted anything because I said I was gonna get it to Pauline, get it to, Derek and.
Right. I mean, in all fairness,
And then get it to you, and then you needed to.
I haven't seen
authorize.
the map. Derek left one here one day, but I just happened to see one, and I ran across him, and he left one here, but
You-
I think you need to present it, and then we need to get it posted, because I think we're gonna.
Do you have time for that?
Next week. We got time, I think.
Yeah, we got time. But anything else?
Is this a good time, Pauline, or should I wait?
We're on Zoom.
I've already asked my part. So is this a fourth? Third.
Third proposal.
The third, okay. I think this is the third proposal.
Yeah.
If you have the time and don't mind.
No.
I wanna do this because I would love to be able to get it online, because I'm being asked questions.
Yep.
And you already have this, I'm sure, I'll make sure you have that. Let me tell you what I am going to do, and at the same time, is this what you were looking for? Levy district.
No, this is.
I think it was a different one than this, I think it was.
Well, I'll keep looking at it, but that is a levy map.
Interesting.
Huh?
It's interesting, Steve. I think this one in particular that they were looking for was in the, northeast quadrant of the county, the
Okay.
Benedictine Bottoms
Okay,
levy districts. I think that there was one that he did more in more detail, just up there,
I will continue looking on that.
so, it's kind of neat.
Let me explain to you real briefly. The last time I was here discussing this with you, Derek Franklin and Liz Lane came in and proposed to you an alternate. And that alternate was not a finished product. I suggested that you allow me to draw that up, get it to Pauline, have her take a look at it, and then after her review, I got it back to them, and then I was gonna bring it back to you before I put it online. This is a map of those changes as proposed. If you will look at, you have a small map in the corner that essentially shows you where the boundaries would be drawn within the county, and then you have the larger map in the center, which shows you actually where the boundaries would be drawn within the municipal jurisdiction. Then the table on the right-hand side of it shows you the three districts, the first, second, third district. You have a number on top and a number on bottom. If you look at the rightmost column shows you the comparison, which is 5561, 5478, 55, or 5607, to show you where these numbers come out. The next column to the left of that shows the breakdown between those within the city limits of Atchison and those from the outside of the city limits of Atchison, for each of the commission districts. I just thought that might be a number that you might be appreciated to see. And it shows you where these numbers come in and how close they might already be. Okay? Now, listening to Pauline talk about these numbers, she had a concern because in the Benton Township, the numbers were being divided upper and lower, and there's actually a precinct division that runs north-south. And in order to try and help that out, and I don't know if it's going to do an adequate job or not, but what I did is another, and this is not actually a proposal, but it was just something which I did try and correct, and I'll make sure you had that one also. I did to try and alter theirs so that it wouldn't break that precinct up. And so if you look at the little county map at the bottom on the left, it shows you that Benton stays as a whole, and then, so what we're doing is the only township, in this case, the only precinct which is affected is Shands. Okay? The inner city breakups are exactly the same, and if you look at the numbers on the right on this one, the numbers actually come out 5561, 5535, and 5550, which is extremely close. Now, I'm not suggesting this. All I'm saying is I look at more scenarios, and then you can always look for the one that satisfies or the most of your desires or irritates the least, whichever the case may be.
Do you think we're gonna satisfy everybody?
No, that's why I went to the irritate the least. You know, our hope is to,
Well, we know it's out of whack, and I mean, our main, you know, statutory thing is to stay within 5%, you know, and this proposal, option two, well, all proposed actually, so far, even with this all, if you consider this proposal number 4, they all fall within 5%, so that's the problem.
well, first off, if you want to put, and I call these outside requests simply because they were made by a third party. First off, if you have no serious problem, I would like to be able to go ahead and post the one outside request. At
Which
least,
one's the outside?
It was the first one I handed you,
Oh.
that shows the division of Benton Township.
Okay.
We haven't labeled those now out there.
It's just labeled outside request on the top of the map.
No, I mean like on the website. Like,
We don't have it out there yet.
Well,
I'm waiting,
one-
the first one we were, it was,
three,
yeah, it
four.
was existing, and then alternate one and alternate two.
Yeah,
And we would just call this alternate three and we'd call this alternate
Yeah,
three.
just a synonymous.
If you don't want the other one on, I won't put it on at all.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I just
I'm
wanted
just
to-
giving you something to look at here.
Yeah.
And really, you don't have to make any decisions yet today, other than the decision to allow me to go ahead and put this on the web. I just didn't want it to pop out there before you were all aware of what it was.
That way it's out there, people have a chance to.
I had a person, Donna Oswald, she had looked at, I guess, Proposition 9 and 10, she really couldn't tell. She said it was, she just couldn't tell on
It
the
was
website. It wasn't-
Blocks, I think
Yeah.
that was the only difference, so there were like four, you guys had suggested.
The only difference between,
Four
and
blocks.
same thing, these are both gonna be seen as very, very similar also. But the only difference between 1 and 2 was, the 4 blocks between
West Third.
North Fifth and, West Second, I believe is.
West Third, there was 4 blocks taken out of West Third and put into North Fifth.
Okay.
And that's what evened that one.
That's correct.
I don't think we need to have a problem putting those out there.
I'd say we leave them out there 2 weeks and get time people on it, so. Because we're not under anything to do, like, we need to get done. I'd say by the middle of April, we could, we got it posted on there, about 15th or 17th, and we could discuss and act on it at that point if we wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg?
I'm glad you used bigger printers so I can read it.
Well,
Easier looking at it.
I'm conservative with your ink and paper, and
That comes-
they're easier to carry around this way.
He said yes, it's out there, he wants to know if you, well, the picture's going to pick it up. I guess that's the question.
That's what I'm thinking, we should send them out.
I told Matt that,
Just have
we just need to
it.
know the date for when they, I
Yeah,
guess they'll have to take it Friday afternoon.
yeah, I believe so.
Is it on the 14th or that?
14.
So just tell Matt to, because I guess he needs to know where to take it.
Okay.
Should I get it done?
So he can ask
I'll
Mr.
call.
Dorsey, where it's going to deliver it. And I told Matt we could get back to him.
Okay.
Couple quick things. Roger Ham thinks that he should be able to make it here on Monday at 3 o'clock. And the other, he's not for sure, he looked in the state statutes, he's not for sure, but I might, if he reads 30 days from the valuation notice, he's not for sure, but I can extend that. The 3 days it was added came through from a court case on a mailing situation type thing. It's the reason that we use that. I don't know, I can fudge.
Well,
fudge.
If you find.
I don't have a problem with that.
If you find that there's a little wiggle in there, you could do it straight across the board. You wouldn't do it just for the ones complaining, or would you do just for the ones that had their hearings? Would If you do it for the whole 100, let's say you change it a little, you tweak it, or let's say you don't change it. You change it all the way across the board just from hearing people.
What I've actually seen from hearings, I think it has to be a one-to-one. I mean, there's some landlocked properties that should be valued at 1,100. Like I said, the cattle situation, I think it almost needs to be a one-to-one hearing type situation. At this point, I've already made a blanket statement. I treat everybody the same. Now, to make any exceptions to that rule, I do have to have hearings, but I really do.
Okay, then I don't envy your position because, I think what we're hearing, I mean, there is such a wide gap there, and I know there are properties out there that we've seen, and you even see them advertised that this is for hunting. I mean, that's the way it's been sold. So I mean, that justification, is easy out of there, easily understandable. But I think most of these people, that wasn't the intent, that it's either been in the family for years, that's the only thing that will grow on some of that.
I went to an auction in Effingham when I first came up here, probably 10, 15, somewhere in there. Anyway, there was it was like a 40 or an 80 or 60 or something that sold. It was literally landlocked. You had to get permission to go through it. And all trees sold for $600 an acre. That's over 10 years ago.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, but the ones now, or like I said, the ones I have, I got documentation about 4 or 5 with 1,100. But that doesn't mean that's why he's talking about it. You can't get to it, or it's not accessible even with a four-wheeler. I mean, yeah, it's probably not going to be, somebody's not going to pay you right now.
I understand that's kind of your determination, but I know some of the bluffs and stuff. I mean, that's, it's.
There's a couple hundred acres down the highway over in Lumber County. I think it was like 6 lawyers or 6 doctors went together, and they bought this, and it's strictly a motorcycle field farm. And you go down there on any Saturday and Sunday, there's 150 to 200 there, and they give $2,500 an acre. And I mean, it's just like this. One guy's broken.
Now you just messed up my theory. See,
something like that that's advertised, it's something like that that's.
It is commercial.
It's commercial. I have no problem with them getting taxed that way, because that was their choice to go out there and do it. Now, whether they have, I think they have a clubhouse, I don't know if there's dues or not, but I don't know. Every Saturday and Sunday, there's a couple hundred motorcycles out there on that hillside.
But see, unfortunately, I have to look at sales. I can't just pull numbers out of the air, so.
And I don't think that probably hasn't been much timber down in your way sold. I mean, it really ain't that much.
Most of the timber down my way has got cattle on it. I'd say 90%.
Then we can take that to probably maybe grass, and that would give a big break.
9%. Roger Myers' rock quarry would be one instance.
No, you can't do that.
Yeah, he's crazy.
That's a common practice down our way for
Yeah.
cattle to graze and pasture.
Yeah, I
Where are your cattle? I mean,
99% of that wasteland down that way is cattle running.
but in all honesty, I mean, Zoe, said, she said, we probably, and she wasn't quite necessarily asked to county, but she says we got way too much wasteland. I mean, because her said if I was evaluating wasteland, would be maybe a big ditch. I mean, too steep, you can't even cross with anything. And it doesn't grow anything under even just big trees on the bank or something. But if there's a whole bunch of trees around it, a whole bunch of trees, then that may not, even some of that, if you get away, she didn't tell me exactly how far, but if you get too far away from the bank, some of that tree and wooded area should be classified as ag land rather than wasteland. So I mean, in a sense, some of that is truly undervalued, but on the other hand, I mean, some of it's, I think, the range that they've given us is a little bit high too.
I would say, and I got some ground, luckily, I don't think I have any like the 50%. It's been assessed at $10, it's been too cheap. About $1,100 is too high. We should have had some kind of a happy medium in there. That's a big move.
Well, grass goes anywhere from, there is some $10 grass, not too much of that because of the soil, up to about 115, something in that range is where that would fall. So, yeah,
I think that's more fair,
It's so interesting that they can't get data shared between them and the other government agencies, because everybody's got a different value they place on it.
It makes me wonder, why should we sit and learn this, because we
value is $265 an acre on Hager, huh? Their base value on pasture is gonna be like $30, a little over $30.
I think you'll find
Quite
that
different.
yeah, but a little bit of their definition and ours is not the same either by state statute. They don't read the same. So it's kind of confusing from that standpoint too. That's where we get into some trouble.
I had a meeting set up out there here on the subject, and when I went out there, I said, where's so-and-so? Well, he's not here, so-and-so. I said, I had an appointment set up with him. Well, I'm sorry. The next day, guess what? I get a letter from Mass, you know what I do with that letter? Put it right in the trash. I don't have time to open it up, no. I don't know what it said.
Well, thanks for your help.
Thank you, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh, that's okay.
We understand.
I'm used to it.
I understand, there you, I understand your position, you know, too, after talking, I mean, I learned a lot from the state and stuff, you know, get their, their take, because I know that you have to answer to them, you know, too, and that's what I don't think they all understand, you know, and stuff, I mean.
But it looks like we may be taking some of the smaller waste ground into probably, like native grass or something too, in the future, so.
Starting
Yeah. You gotta be either or, they can't have.
And you're 100% right, you know, we're gonna miss some people, I mean, unless you just get on the phone and start calling, anybody who miss some of them, because I think I looked at the thing that some of those properties, and I know one guy, he's in Texas most of the time, so he may not open his till it's tax time, you know.
Yeah, but there's, like I said, there's no payment on protest,
How does that work? I mean, then does that go to, does that come back to you?
Comes back to here with me.
And then they.
I'm the first level in
Okay,
every
right,
hearing.
right, so either process.
Either process.
Okay, that's what I thought, though.
But because of these hearings, I'm learning too.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how we clean up things. But I've had many people come in and tell me they don't use any of their grant for ag. There's one I have to change too. They actually went up instead of down.
They thought they was.
I had a guy come in, 18 acres, it's all home site now. But some of it is broken to a creek and stuff, you can't really use it, so I don't value that same per value as I do the primary home area. So he's still getting a break, but.
Where do ponds, I mean, you measure the surface of the pond, where does that fall? Does that fall under ag?
Grassland.
Grassland.
Goes into tame grass, because we consider the pond to be a productive feature of the grassland, because it can be used for watering the livestock that's grazing.
And if water keeps getting shortage like it is, it's gonna rain. And if the
Yeah.
pond's gonna be.
Might be a crop,
But the pond itself goes in as grassland, usually the tributaries into it, if they're steep enough and woody enough, they go into waste. And I must tell you, in doing what we did this year, we probably reduced the overall wasteland. We could get a number for you, but I'm going to guess we reduced the wasteland of the county by at least 20%, 25%. And the same thing is true there. If we'd have gone down to the rate which we were initially talking, it'd have been a huge change. And then we've been in the same boat where people would have been saying too much too fast. So it's just, it hadn't been looked at for a while, and when you start looking at it, you're trying to be consistent throughout the county.
Yeah, I understand.
Roger's been good help.
That's why we're coming to this. We're glad to have you on board, Roger.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
How's the IT person? Is he treating it good?
I don't see him too much, but we still got some machines that need to be fixed, so.
Did you get yours put in, Paul?
I'm still working on mine, I still got one left. I'll go back tomorrow.
Will you send the IT person?
Huh? Excuse me?
If you send the IT person, tell him that Penny needs to know when he wants her to come in and install Orion.
Oh.
I just got that email today, so I need to know when you want him.
When he can come in,
Well, you need the IT person probably to be here when Penny comes in.
okay. Okay, I'll ask him tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
I don't know.
otherwise Mayor wouldn't be here. Jim got a set of rules handed down that you could look at it this way, or you could look at it this way, and he's looking at the very strictest part, and some of the other counties, like Lebanon County, is not going that way. It makes it look bad on him.
And he's within, I think,
He's not doing nothing wrong, but, I mean, he was told that he could do that, and that's what he did. And the state should have been more specific and give some more classifications, or said, okay, this is the way it's gotta be, everybody does it.
The PVDs had their.
PVD is making our friends this year, aren't they? That's
PVDs.
The PVD. Just a quick, update on Bennington College, because I did their solid waste audit. I don't know if you guys are aware, but they were assessed on a weight basis instead of the volume basis, which means that they came out with a smaller bill than had they gone to volume assessments. After meeting with them, they're first and foremost, they want an extension on the May 10th deadline, so that we can look at it some more, but honestly, our number is if they want to contest the assessment that we've given them, then we can go to the volume assessment and it can be more. But trying to work through that situation, because they are one of our biggest consistent trash generators, but they don't pay sales tax, they don't pay property tax. So, I don't know.
But they were one of the other fees reduced in half, and
Even then, it did get reduced in half,
Yeah.
but they, that just, I'm gonna be meeting with them again and trying to figure out a solution so that we have a good baseline, so they know they're gonna pay year over year. Cause them and MGP are gonna be, I'm gonna propose on Thursday a tiered system, but those are gonna be the two exceptions, because they have so many dumpsters for so many different purposes. They're limited in recycling. I mean, MGP already has 2 40-yard roll-offs with recycling already in place, so they're about maxed out. But there's still gonna be a pretty hefty bill for them, so trying to figure out what that number is so that they can count on it, budget it. But the same old questions, it's only 2/3 full, why are you charging us for the full volume? They're only in school 9 months out of the year, so the campus goes from 2,000 to 100 over the summers. Same old arguments, so just giving you guys a heads up in case somebody from the school,
because here, I want to go back to the question I posed before, was as long as, and even if you look at tipping fee, it's a little bit of a guesstimation, when you want to be right honest. I mean, when it's delivered to the landfill, you know what it weighs, but I mean, when a individual, or the city picks up the trash, they may pick up 20 pounds, if this one resident is only 5 and another, but the rate's going to be the same. So, in principle, it's a little bit the same, it's a guesstimation, whether it's a tipping fee imposed by a hauler, or whether it's a tipping fee imposed by a city, and stuff. I mean, our assessment is very similar in that aspect. I guess my point is if we come up with our volume guesstimation, as long as that stays below what we actually haul off from the transfer station, then I would say that we're getting close.
Right.
But if we come up with a number
Just outside of that.
that our volume that we're hauling 20 to 30%, I mean, that, we're charging 20 to 30% more than what we're actually hauling off, then I have a problem with those assessment numbers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Given the range that we have, a ton could be anywhere, or a cubic yard could be anywhere from 150 pounds to 800 pounds.
And our season, if we have to hit a wet season, we could change the weight of our trash could change drastically if we were to get back into a wet season.
speaking of our numbers, there was something I'm still trying to figure out where it came from, but, put together a table of our last 4 years, what we've done, tonnage-wise per month for the past 4 years. And it turns out since November, there's usually, in that winter period, a dip in the amount, regardless of what kind of precipitation you get. There's usually, that's the year round. But ours was a pretty significant reduction. January of last year, we had 20%, we hauled 20% less than what we did for the average of 2012. And then for January, we did 10% less, and then this last February, we did 24% less than 2012's average.
So you're talking that we were close to 20% so far the first 2 months. Actual figures are close to 20% less than compared to the year before.
So what I'm trying to figure out is where that kind of came from, because I know MGP and not MGP, Bush Mines and Bracken did a 50% reduction. So they're accounting for probably 10 or 20 tons, but we're doing like 150 less tons. So trying to figure out where that shortfall is coming from. But the good news is we're going to spend, if that keeps trending, we're going to spend significantly less on trash this year.
Well, hopefully when we go to the new vendor, we should save us $5 a ton right there.
Well, on top of what we've already reduced.
Right.
Yeah, my job is just to try to explain where that reduction came from. But since November, we have shown pretty drastic reductions. So the trick is to find out where it came from so that you can prove that we're not just cooking the books. But
I want to find any more of my ditches.
well,
Or if they find, when people match and find out how far the good is, where they ain't gonna come out there and dump trash.
And that doesn't, I mean, unless we've heard a lot of reports about people dumping in other counties, people dumping in ditches, we haven't had, I mean, that doesn't explain it, so.
Well, but the thing of it is when you look at it, I mean, you know, the bulk of it comes from the city, I mean, in particular residents. And where they've got, you know, automatic pickup system, you might say, I mean, there's a few people out in the county that haul, but if they're assessed a fee anyway, why would they go dump it? Because, you know, it's gonna be X number of dollars per residential place out in the country, a residential home out in the country, X number of dollars, just like it is X number of dollars in the city. So I think I'm just guesstimating that you're probably, it's the businesses that are changing their habits, because it's an economic driving force to business decisions.
Right, and some businesses have thousands of reasons to change, so as soon as I figure out where it came from, we'll be able to hopefully convince people that it has worked. And another thing is that if that trend holds throughout the year, then we can reduce from 61 to something else. So I ran with some numbers, and also with the simplified tiered system, which means if you fit in this range, you pay the low end of that range, and trying to figure out how it works real simply. You know, because the bulk of our people are non-residential customers fall into that next to nothing range, or next to nothing to about 1 cubic yard a week range. That's where most of the businesses lie. So giving them a flat rate, or fitting in that range, as opposed to you paying $61 for your half cubic yard, you paying $122, you paying $103 for 1.5 yards. It just goes to a simplified system. So putting it into 4 tiers or sizes simplifies a lot of things, and then figuring out what base rate you want to pay, and then seeing what that will generate. Hopefully we can, ideally we'd be able to get to, say, $55 for 26 cubic yards if we continue along those trending line, then we can, use that as a fee. Obviously, it's not gonna cover the entire solid waste expense, but if our contractual is so much less, and we've already allocated that money, so we're saving it, it could be a viable option for next year, for 2014.
Well, I think, this is good to have here on hand, but I think it won't be till really the 1st of June, till we find out, how much we truly collected on the solid waste fees to give us an idea. And that's not going to be totally reflected, because some of these businesses are changing their habits. Some of those figures can change somewhat too. The residential part won't change very much, but I'm still curious and anxious to see after people pay their second in May 10th, and give us till first part of June. I think it'll give us a little better picture as to where the amount of money that fee, even considering we cut we did the abatements and cut those high rates in half. It'll still give us a fairly good picture, because I think when I was breaking the numbers out, it was those residents were about half of the fee, and the other half was those businesses that had more than 3 or 4, cubic yards and stuff, so.
Right. So, yeah.
If you understand what I'm trying to explain, so.
And because we cut that non-residential by 50%, those numbers all, if we completely do away with that 50%, and that's our new, how we measure it, then those are 25% less than what we could have charged or originally intended to charge, but I just assumed that 25% conversion is just how we're gonna do these fees from now on, so.
Well, we'll tackle that as we get into the budget season, but,
It would be good also in June to know, because we'll have 6 months of data as far as how we're doing on our transfer station numbers. And then we'll be 2 months into using a debt box, so we'll also have some smaller bills month over month regardless. So getting a better idea of what we're looking at without even doing commercial recycling, without doing residential recycling. Commercial recycling is just, it doesn't cost us anything, so that almost would offset the curbside that the city's gonna be doing. But getting a good idea of what's a more realistic number.
Yes, there's a couple things, and I think you guys are meeting again, but there's probably, if there's any, I did visit briefly with Matt about that this morning, when I was calling him on another thing, and told him to bring it up, but, if this committee has any good consensus suggestions that we could go ahead and implement that, rather than waiting to get a big grand picture, something. For example, the thing I was calling Matt about was that Chuck Horde, who was up here, called me this morning, and I guess he's doing some work in Kansas City, and of course, our policy right now is we don't take any out-of-county C&D, and he was wanting to know if we made any decision on that. I said, well, no, we're hanging with our policy, but I said, if it's gonna cause you a problem, I said, if, we could do a resolution and go ahead temporarily and implement an out-of-county C&D fee. But I tried to explain to him that we were hoping to transition into, if the Bromway situation came about, that would be an alternative place for C&D to go, not tie our hands to be taking much of any C&D out at the transfer station. And he understood, he was very, I think we have to, and I share this with my fellow commissioners, I would like to see whether we may go ahead and pass a temporary resolution and go ahead, and if he's gonna be doing some work in Holland, that we go ahead and put a fee on for out-of-county C&D and allow him to dump because I'm assuming, I'm guessing, he didn't explain detail, I'm assuming, you know, he just brings it home when he maybe comes home from that work. And for his convenience sake, he was happy even if it was temporary, you know, because otherwise, if he leaves the truck loaded for 2 or 3 days, he's limited on getting rid of, you know, C&D. And I don't know what whether Kansas City wouldn't let him dump because he's out of county, or whether their fee was so high that he was hoping we'd come up with something more modest. So I think we, you know, in respect to the gentleman being honest, that he is bringing out-of-county stuff out there, I think that we owe him the decency to address the issue and try to accommodate him, even if it's temporary. So I'm gonna present to the commissioners here, and I think maybe between now and Wednesday, Pat gets back, we ought to have under consideration, and maybe you need to talk to Matt, is what he would be happy with, so we can accommodate out-of-county, a fee for out-of-county.
And, yeah, the out-of-county, and also, do we want to continue to differentiate between your construction debris and your demolition debris? Because right now, we charge per ton for the house demolition.
What is that? Isn't it $20?
It's the one where they prepay at the treasurer's office, and then they go back and forth.
What the city does there, is it, or is it all construction guys? I thought we did, I thought that's one time.
It's all individual construction, the Bromleys, the Waters, all the construction, local construction businesses, don't pay per ton, as far as I know, for your typical construction debris. And that was a question that the solid waste committee was going to pose, was we don't capture, charging C&D, we don't capture we don't recoup any costs, because for some reason we differentiate between, if you tear your house down, we'll charge you for that, but if this is something that
If you just kept remodeling the room.
we're gonna charge you for that,
Yeah,
but.
no, you're gonna charge, what you're saying is you're charging to tear the whole house down, but if they're in county, we're not charging, they can dump,
Yeah,
they
right.
can dump the C&D if they're just remodeling a room or something. And that's what I kinda understand it, so, yeah, I think there needs to be a little more definitive definition, you know, there, but I mean, just to accommodate him, I told him I'd like to try to address that by Wednesday, because they've got a project going on, the way I gather, in Kansas City, and, he's gonna want.
That's gonna take a lot of figure, because if you get it too cheap, we might have that landfill filled up 3 years if you take out.
Yeah, but I'm looking at this being temporary, I mean, when the committee comes with their recommendation, and we're only talking about, we take local C&D anyway.
We do, but we don't charge for it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the questions is, do we start going on a per ton?
See, Brown County charges for all C&D, they have a little higher fee for out of county. So, I mean, maybe we need to use Brown County's figures, I don't know what they use.
What are they charging now?
I don't know, I think it's probably on their website. But if you use something comparable to that.
And we probably don't wanna be less than everyone else's, because we don't wanna attract that kind of business.
Right. Well, and I don't think, I don't really
We
think.
went pretty much even with everybody else.
Knowing what he's, you know, dealing with, I don't think $3 to $4 a ton, he's not gonna, you know, drive Brown County for $3 or $4 a ton, you know, more. And, if this is as close as he could dump it, I mean, I don't know whether Leavenworth even, you know, we didn't get into great detail, I just thought that we needed to try to address it. We got the scales,
Yes,
like
yes.
he's willing to pay, I don't think, you know, so I think we just need to address it, so I suggest that you get with Matt, and you guys get with Pat. I'd like to maybe even pass a resolution to temporarily set a fee for out-of-county C&D.
You say temporarily, 6 months, year.
Yeah, because we can redo the resolution, because our repass, you know.
Resolution, well, you
Resolution.
pass another one to supersede it or rescind it.
Percent, yeah. Yeah, we could, yeah, you guys.
$26 out of the county.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, that sounds fine.
$6 minimum.
Yes, if you bring a bag of trash, that's what it is, $6. If you bring one bag of trash, 2 bags of trash, it's $6.
Didn't Heineke like calculate that?
You know.
In the study,
I thought they calculated like what it was on our C&D per ton.
Oh, yeah, there's something.
they suggested like a $35 per ton.
Something equivalent to what we're paying to haul trash off.
Right.
And I think they were trying to figure in the factor is if you, by the time you had to develop another spot, it's gonna cost you X number of dollars to develop another site and go through all the permits and stuff. And that's what it would take to fund, you know, by the time you fill up one site, you'd have to accumulate that much money. And see, we're already behind because we're not charging, so even if you charge now, you barely have enough money by the time we bid another site to
And hopefully the raw material goes through and we have a private business that will gladly take in-county, out-of-county, any takers. And so hopefully that, what we do need to kind of hedge against if that falls through. So, but we're not capturing anything right now, so only a little bit.
Which county?
Right.
And, we'll probably have to work out a really basic billing system. Like, we'll keep track of the weights at the transfer station and then send it over to Sheila and she can put it on a tab or something. So we go to a more official billing system. That'll be what.
I'm gonna check out price, but Jeff just pulled it up for out of county, they're charging $48 a ton.
The trash up in Brent.
That's for trash. That's not C&D, it's trash.
No.
Yeah, they just up to, I think, aren't they 44 in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just raised it and they're afraid not to raise it again. That's their tipping, that's the tipping fee.
Okay, if you do a special resolution.
Thursday, 9 o'clock.
Joe Blow goes to Little Rock where he starts to let people dump their stuff there for $26 a ton. You can do it?
Well, I'd get the approval by KHE and.
Yeah,
County.
that's what Dennis is, they've gone through, I mean, I gathered it from what Hack talked like, it sounded like all the paperwork's basically, I think it's just the litigation now, this other, of when they can actually take possession. And, I'm sure as heck I'd say that something else will come up, but I think it's just a matter of that, and then they'll be ready for business. Someone else actually told me they actually were applying for mining, or if they may even, if they're, what, no, take that back. They are leasing land from neighbors up there to the, making you think that they may even reopen the quarry so that they don't get on somebody else's property. And so, now whether that's gonna happen or not, I don't know.
They told me the other day that they settled, I don't know if it's settled or the judge made a.
Settlement, yeah.
For like $100,000.
A little short of 7 million, that's what they agree.
I don't know, I tried to look it up on the.
Probably ask for $7 million, you possibly get nothing, ask for $100,000, you might get it all.
Yeah. Well, and I think there was an offer to settle, is what I was told, for like $200,000, they rejected it, and the judge awarded them $100,000.
See, I guess kind of the thinking, Bill, in a way, is that, I think we all agree that, you know, C&D, I mean, it's a good deal for these construction people, but I don't think any of them are afraid to pay the fee because they can figure that in their bidding process. And where we have to, we're gonna be limited on how much land we have out there to expand. To me, it makes sense that we start looking at, charging something, and particularly if Rob may open, I mean, if that Dennis would open up there, to even charge a little more, so it would be diverted, if we wouldn't decline taking it. But if you make an economic fee so that they would.
They charge 35, we charge 50. Just help other people make simple decisions.
Yeah, I mean, somebody may say, I can't afford, it's a one one-time deal, I'm gonna go to Canada, I'm gonna pay that extra $15, because I can't afford to drive zigzag and go up there. That's fine. That's fine. It'll help us offset the cost of an operator of burying, because we have to bury, we have to cover our C and D every day. According to what Matt was up there and Matt explained to them, they don't have to cover theirs, they got a little different permit. They don't have to cover theirs, we have to cover, so it's a little more expensive, we have to cover every day, so.
Off the subject, I'm more concerned about this bid settlement, though. I had no idea that they'd be off that much money. I mean,
That's why those guys are gonna, they have to look into that.
wow.
Well,
More.
we had 2 or 3 of them.
It went from 110 to
Huh?
100,000 was the lowest, wasn't it?
110.
110?
Yeah, but we budgeted, we figured it was gonna be.
He said he said 200,000 on the base bid, and he.
110, 175, 267, 128, 149, 240, 197, 159. It's all over the place.
Well, it, in a nice way, explains that sometimes the locals know a little too much. And it puts them at a little disadvantage that they may over, but know how much you have to spend to do so. That's I'm glad we got that bid. In my first question, that's what we pay Reed to do. He's gonna have to check out, do a reference check and make sure.
Did we do bids on the elevator? Yeah.
So we only got one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. But it fell within his estimate, really, did it? Yeah, it did. Yeah, it fell within his estimate.
You guys have the option to check all any bids, and then go back out and bid it out, you don't have to accept them. In that case, we just have one, so.
Yeah, more.
Difference between 200, what was it, 200, we budgeted at 120?
So, if you can get it done, get it done without, even the second bid, there's only $6,000 between the 2 lowest bids. For a total turnkey, and they both of those bids come in under what we figured the base, by figuring all 3 options, they all come in under what we figured the base would be.
I need to update my information because
I'm the private guy, I'm a private person, Mary.
I was told I'm not going to be able to spend as much time up here as what I have to.
Yeah.
What do you want? Oh, you got it, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, the other thing, hopefully when we go through this bid, and another thing I worry about when you see the other extremes, like how good a job, or what if they work on the pack up? It's not just putting in enough
Well,
blocks.
if they're an established company, they'll be, you have to go to Angie's List or something like that.
But is this railroad gonna go down there on Southwest Boulevard and, okay, I need 22 guys, line up. First 22 guys I'm gonna hire.
I'm trying to think, we bid something, but, we take the low bid and come in, and they realized they didn't bid everything just quite right, and they withdrew their bid. I can't remember, it seemed like that when I was first on, I can't remember what it was. It wasn't anything real major, but it may have been some other board I said on.
Well, what's the benefit of having a standardized RFP?
Well, that's why that guy's making what he's making, because the burden's gonna fall on him to make sure that what we want done is in the process of those guys being bonded. They have to do what they agreed to do, or else we take them to task. Or our project manager finishes the job.
tax, the property tax valuation, that kind of reminded me of the solid waste fees all, all over. So, was that an organized, did they, how come they all came up today?
I have no
Ethel
idea.
Ethel Campbell called me Saturday, and she said the issue with the bridge, and she had the issue with tax. I said, well, I don't know how much we can help you on the bridge, but you know the commissioner meeting is always open. Now, whether she got a hold of the rest of them, or how that comes into play, I don't know.
She came in, I knew she had an issue with the bridge, because she came in and just argued, I told her that there wasn't any decision made, and I don't think I put that in the report.
It was about 2 weeks ago. When Ronnie Bell just brought it to mind. I mean, I knew somebody was gonna get hit, but I'd never seen the list. And, so he went and paid, I think $10 they charged him, and they printed the list of the parcels and the owner, and there's no addresses or nothing on that. And he's the one that got, and he noticed some names on there. I know he was calling some other people to see, and he basically, when he called me, he said, some of these people haven't opened their valuations. And I said, oh boy. And then the guy, I told you at church, I said, well, when you go home, look and see when that thing was sent. He said, well, it was mailed on March the 1st. So now you see, we're at 30, I mean, if you think 30 business days, I mean, maybe, then we've got another couple weeks, but if it's 30 days, the weekends, we're about done.
I'm surprised people haven't opened those up sooner than that.
I don't know. I've been guilty.
Most people's opinion is, you know, it's not gonna be that much more, it'll be a little bit, but there's nothing I can do about it anyway, so just let them decide.
I've done it myself.
I have
I
to.
throw it on my desk, and if it's not a bill, I'll get to it, and then it may get buried, and then when my wife makes me clean the desk off, I find it 3 months later. So, but he does have parameters. I mean, that's all you have to have, it. You gotta certify it, and get it all in. I mean, that's what we gotta go on. Whatever he comes with is what we base our budget.
But the only thing is, and he said you could protest it, but that's after the fact. That's after everybody, all the taxing districts have set their budgets and set the levies, and those districts are wanting that money, and then if he
Well, this is what,
protest,
yeah, this is what
he
bothers
lowers
me.
it, and then it's less money that all of it.
Well, probably the disturbing thing is suppose then after we get enough protests, even, you know, paying under protest, and then we start making adjustments, I guess, then you could come up with a shortfall. I mean, when you have, in other words, with that wide range, if we're only talking about a 10 or 15%, we're talking about 10,000%. You cut that in half, your appraised value, you cut it in half, you know, quite drastic on your budget. You know.
Well, that they could change on revenue. If you're doing a good budget process, you would be budgeting that 6
So what you're saying,
whatever.
after we set the budget.
Why,
You wouldn't be using that 6, but that'd be crazy to do something like that. 'Cause you'd have to
knowing
do
that it's
protest.
under protest, could be under
Yeah.
protest.
But you don't know it's under protest until after the tax date.
Well, yeah, but he knows, he can give you the estimate, like the $6 million in increased valuation, you wouldn't use that. I don't think anybody would want to use that, that'd be too radical to do something like that.
Well, on that particular, knowing.
And then if you had a bunch of protests, then you're.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
is the ag, there's gonna be very little that they can do on ag land, because those figures are set. I don't think anybody's gonna, you know, he can't make much of any adjustments on that. There'll be very little of any adjustments on residential's. This has the potential, if you take it at his appraised value versus what it could fall to, I think what you have to take into consideration is take the very low end and be protected in case there isn't a protest, and there's changes, I mean, you know.
Richard Smith, I walked in with him, and he had his little notebook. He had 3 quarters, and it went from 28,000 to 311,000. That's what his is. So if you,
He's a wealthy man, isn't he?
He didn't know how wealthy he is.
That's what my brother was doing up here today, he came in and talked about that culvert.
Yeah, he has one
Yeah.
on there, he had one on there too.
well, you get 2 blocks east of that 73 highway, that's what it is. It's rocks and hills and trees and cattle running on it. I mean, that's just the way it is, all the way back around to the county line.
It's just the way the topography is, that's what it's gonna be used for, I mean, yeah, I can see what it'd be if you, I mean, I thought the Lutzes may have
Cut their own throat.
a little bit by, you know, because they use it for honey, they're not gonna have a real strong case. You know, that's what they bought it for, and that's,
Well, I don't know, I think that was your mother's place.
I
And
understand.
it's kind of in Hawk, and those 2 or 3 of them all together and bought it out. I think it was auction. I know that's what it was, I know his family.
Well, the fence on it, you know, they're not pastured, or I wouldn't think it would be pasturing on it.
Well, it said they had some ag, I think it was farming some of it.
I'd say around the middle must be more so, because they looked around at it. It'd be up there around to, State Lake, you know, just north.
Well, yeah, this property has to be pretty close, because when I think, when you look at the list, I can't, let's put it right, their names are right close to where his, I mean, the parcels are kind of in order where they're located and stuff, and I'm guessing it had to be up in there somewhere. But, you know, see, Ronnie, I think he's got, I think 80% of his is just timber. You know, he doesn't do nothing with it, I mean, it's just timber. And I'm sure there's people probably from Huh? Yeah, he's right there just south of State Lake.
They start charging mushroom hunters, can't hunt free no more.
Well, but then you got
It's
more.
commercial.
Yeah, commercial.
Just say drop the mushrooms off here, then they can sell them.
No, it's just plain simple, there's too much disparity there, that's all there is to it. I mean, 10's too low, 1100's way too high. 50 to 100 in that range, I think people could accept. I mean, I don't know. Just because of one court case or.
And like I said, I don't think it's fair to value on what the piece of ground next to is sold.
Well, I think their point, they're only in essence a little bit true too, and you know, my farmer friends will like to say this, but I mean, you know, ag land, it has a different way that its value is determined versus how this is determined, and even some commercial property. So I mean, that disparity there's some justification, you know, in that, and that's why I think that, I think they're gonna be more and be surprised, I think that they really need to, you know, they may get some adjustments, I mean, particularly, nothing more than buy a couple goats and turn it out there.
Well, Ferguson, I mean, that's right, Ferguson, they pasture there, 'cause it's, yeah.
What, Charles DeLue, run cattle on his,
Mhm.
Michael's run cattle on theirs, your brother runs cattle on his. Now, the Campbell's Trust, I don't think they own any cattle, whether Porkstein's run any cattle, I don't think they do, I don't know. But I tell you what, you wanna be a rich man, you just get their names and buy all their timberline for $300 an acre and get on Craigslist tonight. Tomorrow morning, you're a multi-million. Advertise it back east.
Yeah, I don't think they realize that either. But until they do that, and it's some of that sold for that, I still don't think it's fair.
$300 an acre, I can tell you that, that's so much.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying is, but until they do it, you know, establish that price,
But
I still think it has to do with what is it used for? What is it used for? I mean, clearly some of those, you can't grow nothing else on, and so it's a conservation measure, I mean, there's no doubt.
They should be able to share that data with, just boards, if they can't, the FSA won't share some data or CO.
They got too much to do.
Thinking about one of those horse son kids, I think it was Clint, when he was real little and he had a bucket calf. The judge nicked him because he had been letting that calf graze on trees. He got into the tree there. And he got nicked, I think he was like, got a red or something, I mean, it was.
Was the judge a tree hugger, or what was the deal? Or just because that wasn't a
It was
good?
Matt Ramsey. He worked for the Globe years ago, the old Globe. And Matt Ramsey. And I guess his family has a lot of ranch land or something. Anyway, the judge didn't show up and Matt was out there before. Well, somebody knew he had that background in ranching and whatever, so he filled in and judged. Not him. And that's a lot of people pasture on that.
Judge could be subjective, I think, there's people in that area.
Talking about our area, I think they have enough acreage for the volunteer fire department to go down the snow. And so my place, about Thursday, Friday, you got correspondence to sign up, I signed up, Randy, your nephew signed up, John was gonna sign up, Tom Wagner was gonna sign up. And they had enough acreage. They thought Charlie Purdue was gonna sign up. I don't know what Michael did. But then said he was gonna hit everybody, he just wasn't gonna hit the bigger ones, he was gonna hit everybody. So I think they got enough to get fire department.
I was wondering if they had actually been able to circulate the petition and had prepared it yet or whatever it was.
Yeah, he sent it out to them.
Yeah, I think Pat said that for a while ago, but I don't know what the holdup was, but, I asked him for service at the Farm City Day, he said, Vincent dropped it down, he'd be never get it out there.
I think I'm right on the line. Right inside the fire.
So you had it before, did?
I have had it, yes.
Well, see, when we do our insurance, we used to have Fort Leonard, then we have, Easton. But Vincent said that your nephew was paying, it was gonna save him $700 some bucks a month on his insurance, and it was gonna raise his taxes about $42. So for his $42, he saved $700 some bucks, because now he's insured in the fire.
Yeah, to see my parents, they weren't in.
But we was in Fort Leonard, I mean, they'd come out here with trucks like they got down here, and then they quit doing that.
How long ago they stopped doing that? That's been a while.
It's been about, 15 years probably they stopped, but then the Pleasant Ridge Fire Department kind of picked us up. And they got fairly good. But now I'm up here, you know, it's kind of, the pressure is on. I signed up.
Those volunteer things have been great. We see what happened with the ambulance, if you wonder when the fire districts with the volunteer services.
I've been told we have 3 signed up for the class, and they wanted to hold it in the summertime, and I already got Galley off. And he said it'd be better if it did to the fall, they got better participation, so we're gonna do it this fall.
So for an EMT class.
Correct.
One of the things, I don't know how to address, I didn't, like I said, we're in an odd position on this, as far as notifying people. Mary does all she can do to get that information out. We can put it on the website, but there's still gonna probably be half of the people and get notified. I don't know that it's really our job to initiate a letter And what you guys recommendation, do we just contact a couple of those people on there and say, listen, you guys, here's the list, you guys want to start calling people, we're gonna have a hearing, it's up to you guys to get the word out.
If we had some more time, we could have said, you guys need to set up some kind of committee, and they could have set up their own committee, they could have delegated that time, I don't know.
You're opening up letters, I don't know what else, you know.
If they didn't open up their green appraisal, why are they gonna open?
Maybe there's on the front of that envelope, maybe we should stamp something like that, urgent attention needed.
Check and
If it comes
close,
in-
get their attention.
Yeah. Yeah,
But other than
well,
that-
that's what I'm saying, you know, that's what, do like Lewis out here, you put T on there, it's a better color, but, you know.
You know, you could do though, and there's a pretty cheap alternative, it's just a
Yeah, but-
reminder postcards, those are pretty
Right,
cheap.
I know,
And those are.
but are we the people that's supposed to, should we be the ones initiating it? Because it, I feel a little awkward, I mean, I've talked to just a couple of people just to ask them, but should I be the one, should we be the ones out here initiating this protesting, you know, per se?
We gotta be careful.
Well, I think we do in a way, but at the same token, I hear and I want to help them, you know, so. What do we do, Paul? You've been around, what do we do?
People's responsibility to get informed, you know? Good Lord.
Well,
I mean, hopefully
Hopefully it's over.
the group that was in here today will spread it, won't they? They're,
Yeah.
both of these were in your walnut, weren't they?
Well, that's where I think you're gonna find quite a bit of it.
Well, but see, we have that went from $5,000 to $78,000. That's in Mount Pleasant, so you've got Mount Pleasant, I mean, that's
Does he set up a meeting?
tomorrow, I did for him.
Okay. But you run cattle yet, don't you?
Yeah, but it's,
What if we get former commissioners superintendent, Tom, to go out and say, call these people?
Who?
Tom,
But here again, we're initiating.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's kind of one of these deals, you feel like, what do we, I mean,
Well, if he can at least extend it at least a couple of weeks, I mean,
Yeah.
that's pushing it right there.
Well, we used to have the one Blackfooter south of town, you could go tell him and they would get around, he's dead and gone now, I don't know who the leader is. Would it be that Campbell lady, is she kind of leader now? I don't think so.
I don't know.
Used to be her dad, he
Ellsworth, yeah.
he's called shots. Now,
Floyd
wasn't that
always got her
wasn't that
answer.
Ellsworth's son-in-law, the one that sat back here behind the pillar?
No,
That was
there were two
Ferguson.
Ferguson.
That was Ferguson.
That was
Ferguson.
Victor.
Victor was the one sat further back, the
He
two,
did.
but the one that
Victor
sat
was
right
at
behind.
Wilbur was over
Victor
here.
was sitting by Calvin, and Calvin was the one that, the grazing.
Calvin, now that's Elder's
That's-
son-in-law, isn't it?
Calvin Bullard.
That's a nephew.
Nephew, okay, that's.
He's Marvin's son.
And then there was Adrian that was here.
Adrian out the leader.
Well, Goldie.
Yeah,
Adrian's
she'd be a
sister
good
Goldie,
one.
she's the mover and the shaker.
She's really good to talk to.
Now, that'll be Goldie Heisman.
No, Goldie Brown, and they built that house,
that
it's
new
kind
house
of like a
right there on
castle.
73.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's Adrian's sister.
she's been pretty active too.
But then again,
is she really another Stacy Campbell?
I think
Ethel
the
is
thing is,
Stacy.
if we can eliminate some of that,
Is he second?
probably, for people
And
that
then
are
she
checking.
Joanne
We
Murray.
had Leonard still alive, he was.
Leonard, yes, indeed, exactly, he'd have taken the time, got the information out.
Like Joanne would be a pretty good spokesperson.
I like it.
Joanne Murray, because she'd be in that trust,
Questions?
Ellsworth Builders Trust.
Some people don't do the newspaper, some people don't listen to the radio, so.
And some, I'm not sure who all's around, Irving.
I copy one thing, email, I'll send it, you know.
Yeah. You can just send it to me. That's-
So I think I saved it on the computer.
Okay.
If not, I'll rescan it and send it to you. Just-
Too bad we can't put something like that out on the election polling places.
Yeah.
I'd say 95% of that's my area, 90%, the other 10% is up north of the area.
Well, Jim had said
We
something,
may have a little bit.
Jim said something that caught my ears was, he said per statutes, we did per statutes well. Is that the minimum? You know, my experience is that the statutes are the minimum, like, can you do more to get that word out? That's what my question is, right?
I think, like I said, I think Jim Lampe is within the law, he was told what he could do, and he is doing it to the max. He's probably been a little bit wiser to tone it down a little bit. That's water under the bridge now.
Well, but I know his point was, he was gonna make it universal until somebody proved him wrong, and that's basically what PBD says. He is the one, the burden's on him, and he has to be able to justify what he did based on what you bring in. It's not the.
And then CODA would be the one that would.
So did PVD actually say to all appraisers, you need to do this, or why is it something that?
Well, it's their latitude, how they want to interpret it, the way I understand it.
I mean, why not the whole state of?
I never got a direct answer on that, why they didn't.
I don't know, like I said, I don't know, Jim said it's outlawed or done away with. Bob Weber told me that they consider their wasteland grassland with coverage, that's how they consider it. They stayed theirs at the same $10, which they don't have that much down.
But they changed some of the classifications to that coverage, or that can be coverage, that's what, something else changed with that. And PVD is obviously.
Yeah, but that was, if, it would be $10, if they have it under grass waste, I mean, they can't, I think wasteland is as low as.
He said the only thing that they changed, where they used to call it wasteland, they now call it grass with overhead coverage, and it was valued at $10 a acre. That's what Bob Weber said.
So what's Donovan doing, because they have a lot of timber, don't they?
Didn't you say that?
I didn't get Donovan, I just went to Larry.
Well, Ronnie Bell told me, he said he just talked to somebody up there, and they actually had one of these safari plans, and it was considered wasteland, it didn't change in valuation.
Where
That's,
Dale
Bob
Earnhardt used to
Bowles.
go,
What's that?
that boat land,
Bob
that's
Bowles.
where,
That's Bob Bowles
Dale
right there.
Earnhardt. Dale
Right, the end of
Earnhardt
Massachusetts
used to-
County, yeah. He's the one with like the 13 farms up there.
I haven't been up there.
Get back to business, you seen that last proposal for, is that gonna mess up the electrical votes and all that?
What do you mean?
On a splitting, did that split any districts or precincts?
Yeah, it's split Shannon.
Split Shannon, and what she also said is that Huron, it takes Huron, the only other thing is, I think something about, didn't you say Huron, he was thinking about consolidating into Lang.
Well, I mean, if I ever did consolidate.
If you did consolidate.
I will say this, I believe when Derek came up for the first time, that he thought that him and the precinct committee people could come up with a good map. I contacted a lot of the precinct committee people on both sides of the party, they've never been approached, they've never been talked to about this map.
I'm surprised, I mean, the numbers, I'm pleased with all the numbers,
The numbers are pretty good, the numbers were ten, number 4 was what, maybe 8 or 10 off?
I was shocked how close
They were pretty close. But you went to like 4,000 city votes and 800 some county votes?
I'm not.
I think I'm the only one, if they wanna talk about the city and rural, the only one, I would say it's balanced, if they wanna use that word with the rest of them. I mean, the numbers are there, but,
I mean, city and county.
yeah, I'm like 25 and 25 or something like that. But the rest
25
of
and
them-
29.
25 and 29?
You're, on percentage, you're more like 55, 45.
So it was Ben that they split.
Well, the original, but then Roger changed it.
Oh, okay.
Because Kenton is split anyway, but you said it's split north and south.
You'd be 4,500.
Is that road split north and south? 62 and 63?
Didn't you say, is it north and south?
East west.
Oh, it is.
900.
Okay, east and west. Well, just being the line was north and south,
Yeah.
east and west, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
east and west, yeah.
okay,
62 this way, 63 this.
okay.
There's the statute number.
Well, the numbers aren't quite as close as the law, if they are.
That's their attorney,
No.
For the,
PBD.
I know they've got their hands full.
That's just what it
I'd
is.
like to talk a little bit, this is probably about time, about some.
That's your law.
No, you
I went
don't.
home all weekend and thought about it.
Well, I think
You
you
did.
have to.
Except for Raleigh. We need to take that up.
You have to.
We measured it, it's 3
That's
miles
be a
It's,
year
I
tomorrow.
think maybe this year.
Maybe late this year?
The guy that got up said that he was quitting.
His right is to work, because we're not expecting that much.
Like-
Whoever said this is my last meeting, so I'll just, I don't want to do it, but this is my last meeting.
And Bob, thank you.
So it's close.
I'll see y'all later.
Okay.
He's doing it.
He's, well,
Took another position.
he's with, yeah, he's not with KDOT and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, he took another position doing,
It's within
Yeah, I said,
KDOT.
I put 74 DR, he said, well, would you guys be interested? Would you consider?
He's there.
so I'd say you guys should talk with the Shawnee County guy and the guy from, it was the bid, the oil guy.
Okay, then you need to bring up that new commissioner from Jefferson County have no emergency management, and they would be willing to work with us? Is that what he said?
Yeah, he was asking, he just wanted to visit with us at some point.
About
Wayne
a
Ledbetter.
you talked about we need to expand that.
Something to look at as we get to, as we get into budget year and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, their management person, emergency management person quit.
Yes, yeah, they went to, I can't remember, supposedly they're one of the better ones in the state.
Well, I'm wondering, was that a full-time position in Jefferson County?
I think he said, no. Did he say full, they might have been full-time there. He did say it's full-time. If not, it should have like one of their smaller dudes.
See, I've learned there's more. There's quite a range in how far you want to take emergency management. They just, basic, I mean, they use the sheriff or investigator or something. They consider it about a half or a third, not even half time, maybe a third time. And they just use the basic, but here again, they're only 10,000 people, or 17,000. I mean, they got more land there, but they got less, people and stuff to do. So, I mean, there's a disparity, we can't always compare apples to apples. But that's how they, I mean, theirs is, they have to tell me what they pay, but I think it's on a per hour basis, and they probably just figure so many hours, but it's not, there's very few counties that have it, unless you're a big county, it makes it a full-time position. You know, it's always a half-time in this county.
Well, he also asked about, road engineer, because that came up out there last week about doing something possibly together, something like that.
Who's that?
With, Jefferson County.
Oh.
He was inquiring about that.
Let's just hire a little still there.
With Madison County.
If you share.
If you share.
Oh, if you share.
See,
Two of our counties together would probably be smaller than what he's handling now.
I bet he's making 100.
I was 75 or 80.
Yeah, you're closer.
You gotta remember, work for the county, you don't get as much. Right, Paul?
Right.
Me and Jeff talked a little bit about this centennial.
Yeah, the sisters.
Can we do something like give them some kind of official title or something?
We should draft up, proclamation at least. I wonder if we should get something framed for them, or?
Well, you write the proclamation. Yeah.
We should probably do that really, because I just sound like, I don't know if we should give them a plaque, I don't know if there's enough time to even give them a plaque, but at least a framed proclamation.
100 years.
Just 150 years, so,
Oh, yeah, we ought to recognize. My gosh, yeah. Where should we thought we were on that Thursday?
I think it's here, I think.
We had that thing out.
Unless they changed it, I didn't hear about it.
We had that meeting at the hospital the other day, and there was approximately 30 people.
Did you go to that? I didn't even see anything about that.
The weeds and the strength and.
Was that the,
At the hospital.
Yeah, it was, what do they call that? Because I was.
The county health rankings or whatever they.
Because Connie emailed, and I had something else on, I couldn't go, but I wanted to go.
One of the biggest weaknesses, and I would have never guessed it, other than the economy absent, we have a major prescription drug problem in Memphis. Major.
You mean abuse?
Yes.
That surprises you?
prescription part of it does. The regular drugs don't, but this prescription does. 'cause
You
they
mean
gotta-
where
they're getting
nobody's
stuff from
writing
doctors.
prescriptions?
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes. And doctors want to brought it up. And somebody said, oh, I don't think so. He said, I'm here to tell you, we have a major problem. And then the guy doing the survey that run the town hall, he says, you have a major problem. And the biggest thing that they thought we should work on is economic development. It must have had
Yeah,
3/4 of the road green dots.
yeah, it's a major.
Affordable, taxi cabs to transport people to the hospital, and the doctors was another major one.
Well, yeah.
Affordable, I guess we have it, but I guess it must be very, very expensive. The doctors was a big plus, we got good doctors, and just a hospital facility, that.
Oh, I think with that new hospital, it added greatly. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
It's really surprising to go on that Liberal Western group, and they never sent anything out to us about that coming up, other than like, they're gonna do like a survey or whatever town hall.
Tom Magner come over and said, oh, by the way, I'll see you tomorrow night. I said, where am I supposed to be tomorrow night? Well, you just got there. I said, right, well, you need to come out there. So I said, okay, I'll go out there. So I went out there. There was quite a few people.
That was, well, that was.
Night after the Farm City night.
So Wednesday night, that's Wednesday.
Can't remember what I had put on, because I had it on my schedule to go.
They did one of those like, gosh, was that a year ago? Maybe it was a year and a half ago, they did one out there, and that was when they first were talking about the where, you know, some of those, the health rankings, if you look in the data, that data's a little old, some of it's like 2009, 2010, not that it's old, but.
Healthy food on the north side of town is one key issue. Too many fast food, unhealthy. Obesity in our county is higher than the state. Unemployment's higher than the state. Uninsured. Daycare was another problem, which I thought we had pretty good daycare.
Well, regular regulations, newborn daycare and liability and stuff is really, you know, all that stuff changes the dynamics of it. I mean, you know, 20 years ago, you didn't think of all the liability factors within the licensing and all this stuff. And then there's, you know, some churches used to offer that, and it's hard to get the volunteers to do that. And then the liability, it's just a liability factor, you know.
I registered online, and the bill for the classes, they had an option, so I sent them here, and then I put the hotel room in my credit card.
That's what you should do. You're good to go.
And, you need to take a tax exemption thing with you when you go.
Jim's got some.
For the hotel or for the?
For the hotel, not for,
But if I present one on his behalf, will that work? I've got two.
if you both go at the same time, will you?
Yes, when you go to pay it.
I'll take it off, okay.
I mean, I can get him one.
We can ride together, and then I talked to that Jefferson County guy, he'd like to ride with, I'm in,
Richard,
You just need to, yes, mention, and you need to sign it and date it.
make you a bunch of, just keep some and make some copies of it.
This
Just have it
expires
in your file.
November 2014.
Okay.
But you just have to sign it and print it.
Okay.
I'll try to remember, Brenda, we're gonna be together, we just sign one, and everything.
What do you think about when we left the parking lot the other day in that helicopter? They was giving helicopter rides, or did I give them? Charging.
Yeah, the day after, maybe we got a Wednesday.
There's a Wednesday. 27th. Yeah.
Well, Friday I had to take some cattle up to the veterinary in Hiawatha, and it was landed in north of Horton. In somebody's yard here, so they had a sign out there, helicopter rides. That's what it was a helicopter ride.
Here we thought we wanted to see you.
I got a cute little helicopter ride, Joe helicopter. Put on your agenda meeting, go ahead and leave, I'd like to have about 15 minutes with Jim, executive session on
Wednesday.
Yeah. What else we got, Joe? Is there anything else?
If there's a Joe Perla.
He's the 360 interview.
Yeah, what's he
Oh.
coming up with? You know,
What else?
Oh, no?
He was the one that was talking about the courthouse. And you asked him about law enforcement in the hot water, didn't you, hot water heater?
Yeah, I wonder if he's evaluated everything.
Yes, that was it.
So you're gonna write that one for the sisters?
Yeah, proclamation. We'll get a parade, I think that'd be nice. Yeah, well, we read it off there too, so it'd be nice.
And if you can find out about the barbecue grill, that,
Yeah.
Do we need to put on there, was Reed gonna have, he's hopefully gonna have his recommendation on Wednesday, right?
I guess, he didn't really commit to coming up Wednesday, but he said he would at least get back with Joe. So I assume that'd be on the part of the agenda with
I think he said
updates.
he'd get back with Joe
Mhm.
by Wednesday.
Updates on the,
What he found out. I think he checks definitely, like I said, both them two low bids.
I just found out there's gotta be something. I know the guys here in Rockville.
But, you know,
May not be quite as-
the real consistency thing, if you look at most of the vendors and door bids were.
all the same, yeah. You know, it's alternate 2 and 3 bid.
But they was all in the upper thirties, middle upper thirties, and that's about half what they really were talking about. And, but there was one that was getting 60,000, but,
Yeah, it is interesting how the base bids are such a big disparity. You think,
Can I ask you a question?
locally.
Like when you put something like the elevator out and you only get one bid, even though it's in that engineer's thing, and you think it's high, what do you do? There's nothing you can do.
Like I said, you could choose to reject, I think it was well within that bid that we expected, so I mean, that's.
and it was a local, and it turned out to be good as far as that goes. There was, what was surprising is I recall, there was 200 people up here, I thought they would submit a bid, but they didn't, they had subcontractors.
Even the we had the
Pre-meeting, the pre-bid meeting.
There were several up here to help bid on that too, I mean, so we thought we'd get like probably 5, 6.
We did get 6, but they were out of town most of them. We had what? We had
Three.
Conway and.
There was
3, L&L.
three in town and 3 out.
And Carney.
Carney, that's right.
2 Carneys and 2 Carneys and Hunley, and then 3 out of town.
We're out of town.
4, no, 7 bids, what, that was 4, yeah.
Oz is a big outfit. Yeah.
I'm not losing any sleep over it, but I'm just a little skeptical, $110,000.
Do they not know what, I mean, or is there gonna be changes to this because they've come across something that they didn't foresee in it?
Change orders.
Change orders?
Yeah.
How many change orders are you gonna have?
Well, that's
They
hopefully.
built in their margin.
Of 110,000, they must think it's gonna be a piece of cake.
You may have, I don't know, if we had any union bidders or not, you don't get all pretty much non-union, well, cost might be.
Well, doesn't matter because that grant makes you pay certain wages.
Does Heritage, CDBG does, but does Heritage?
I'm pretty sure Heritage does too.
Heritage is more laid back than,
I always thought Heritage, that's what they told us. I thought that's what they did.
They won't get as many tax credits, I mean.
I come by and look at the lights after the farm snow.
Oh, I see.
The morning of, when we went to Topeka, it would be nice, but I don't know if it's 1,800 watts. That seems awful high. I mean, the lights are a little yellow, but I don't know.
That's something I think we can wait, if he has one lined up, but, it's up at the end of the year, you can always do it towards the end of the year.
Extra lights, extra.
It's not, I don't think it's a pushing thing. It's not a lot of money either, but it's nothing pushing, so.
You had a week with your new guy. You impressed? You got a lot to learn?
yeah, he has a lot of fun. He's, yeah. I have two guys in that.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, I think he will be. I think they both will.
Yeah.
But he has a lot to learn, so I have 3.5 years to do it.
That's, yeah.
really interested in.
For the rest, so I'd make a entertain motion to adjourn at 5:30.